pretty eye me take though.
Damn, shit, you doing another show for 3 hours?
I can't deny her though. They my bestie. She's my bestie. That's my bestie. Your para eyes had me paralyzed. Toxic nigga, but you made me to a better girl. Smoke, but with you on forever, ever high. Can watch you all day, girl, like you televised. You think like this nigga, they ain't never lied. I lived the beaches alone, I had to pick a side. Look in your eyes, girl, you were hypnotized. Of course, it was your breasts, hips, and them damn thighs. Close my eyes, I'm still mesmerized. To get mad at my bestie, I tried. That's my bestie, my pretty.
I heard she's the one, she's got it going on. That's my pretty eyes, baby. Yeah, yeah. She don't take no mess. My bestie is the best. That's my pretty eyes, baby. Yeah, yeah. I heard she's the one, she's got it going on. That's my pretty eyes, baby.
Hey, what's up, Daniel? Hope you're doing well. I seen your picture of your 2 cats. They're cute. They're cute. Anyways, all right, so I'm back with day 5 of the Karen Read trial. Back with another one. The drama-filled trials. Anyways, all right, so let's get started because, you know, this is going to be a long one. Oh, yeah. And I want to move. Right there. Play. No, play. Right here. Come on. It's the only fan, the only fan. Let me take my here we go. Yeah, let me
22117, the Commonwealth versus Karen Read. Can I counsel? Identify.
Adam Lally for the Commonwealth. Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning, Mr. Lally.
Good morning, Your Honor. Laura McLaughlin for the Commonwealth.
Good morning, Mr. McLaughlin.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Oh, why is it
Good
so
morning, Mr.
fast?
Jackson.
Good morning, Your Honor. Elizabeth Little, also for Miss Reed.
Good morning.
Come on, pause. Why are you so fast, George? Oh, I got 1.25. No. Okay. Now we play.
Ms. Little.
And good morning, David Unetti for Karen Read.
Pause.
Good
Pause.
morning, Ms. Giannetti. Good morning, Ms. Reed.
Okay.
All right, counsel wanted to see me.
I did, Your Honor. Judge, as I indicated in an email that I sent to your clerk last night and copied to Commonwealth.
I have not seen the email.
Okay, well, I'll explain what was in it. Essentially, I was alerting the court that I would like to be heard prior to the start of testimony today, because since Katie McLaughlin testified on Thursday and Friday, we received a deluge of photographs that put her with Caitlin Albert on many different occasions after they graduated high school. We received information from their high school yearbook that they were more than just acquaintances in high school. They were teammates on the track team. And even after I sent that email with the photographs that I attached to it, late last night, we received another photo where Katie McLaughlin and Caitlin Albert are standing next to each other in a photo at a baby shower in June of 2021, about 8 months before John O'Keefe's death. It's very clear to us that Katie McLaughlin perjured herself. And I wanted to discuss the issue of the admissibility of not only the photographs that we're now providing that we just received over the weekend, but I also want to resurrect the admissibility of H, I, J, and K for identification. And I think a discussion of this, Your Honor, needs to start with what court orders are currently in place. The leading case with regard to the provision of reciprocal discovery when the defense is offered.
Oh, so you want to get back to Rule 14, the Rule 14 issue?
It is a Rule 14 issue.
Okay.
That's
So
supplemented by.
hold on one second. So on top of that, we can discuss this later. I'd like to get the trial started.
That's fine, Your Honor. My strong belief is that we need to determine this today. And the reason is that Caitlin Albert is coming up as a witness for the Commonwealth. She faces the same areas of cross-examination that Katie McLaughlin faced, and these photos are relevant to her cross-examination.
Okay. All right. So aside from the Rule 14 issue, I also think this is cumulative. I don't have the email. I do have the photos, but we can address this. When do you expect the Albert? I'm sorry. What's her name?
Caitlin Albert.
Caitlin Albert.
I'd say midweek, probably. It depends on how far we get today.
So we'll address this either today or tomorrow.
Thank you.
Scheduling purposes. So
You'd like to get the
Sergeant
trial
Rank, is he
started,
testifying
lady?
today?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So we need a voir dire of him. I expect that might take a while. Is he testifying this morning, or can we use the lunch break for that? I need to know if it's around 11 o'clock, we'll have a voir dire. I'll just order coffee. I just need to know about that.
So I anticipate 2 witnesses prior to him. So I can't predict necessarily how long.
How long will you be with those 2 witnesses?
With those 2 witnesses, probably half hour, maybe a little more with each.
Okay. Any idea how long the cross will be with those witnesses?
Probably, I will handle one of those witnesses. Mr. Yannetti will handle the other, and I would say at least a half an hour on cross-examination, maybe a little bit more.
Okay. Would it be up to an hour on each? I'm just, again, scheduling. I'm not limiting you at all. I'm just curious.
Thank you. I don't think we exceed an hour. I would say safely, I know it's a big range, but between a half an hour and an hour, I think, for each of them.
Okay.
I think that's probably accurate.
All right. What can I say for a second? All right. Thank you. So we will all set to bring the jurors in?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
Let's go.
Jim.
Maybe.
We also have exhibit 8.
8.
Thank you.
Rise to the jury.
Hey. All persons have any business before the Honorable Beverly Cannoni, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court in and for the County of Norfolk. Draw near, give your attendance, and you shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts
No, God save freaking the people from Massachusetts. But from
Good morning again,
Commonwealth,
Council. Good morning again, Ms. Reed.
That's
Good morning,
the people
Judge.
from the
I have to ask you
Commonwealth.
those same 3 questions, and we appreciate your patience. We had to work out a few things this morning. So, was everyone able to follow the instructions
No.
and refrain from discussing this case with anyone? Everyone said yes and nodded affirmatively. Were you also able to follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent
We did
research
all
or
that.
investigation into this case? I'm going to ask you if you were able to refrain from seeing or reading or hearing anything about this case since we left the other day. So with that, I'm going to see counsel at sidebar and
Why would you see them at sidebar when? Why would you call? Hopefully they freaking hurry.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna speed right past this little
All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
colloquy.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Please state your name and spell your last name.
Yes, my name is Paul Gallagher, last name Gallagher.
And how are you employed, sir?
I'm a lieutenant with the Canton Police Department.
And how long in total have you been a member of the Canton Police Department?
A total of 32 years, 2 years as a permanent intermittent officer, 30 years full-time.
And you indicated that you are a lieutenant, is that correct?
That is correct.
And how long have you held the rank of lieutenant?
I was promoted to lieutenant August 1st of 2021.
What did you do with Canton Police prior to becoming lieutenant?
I was the detective sergeant from 2018 until I was promoted in 2021.
And what is it, just starting with that, what is it that a detective sergeant does?
So when a patrolman takes an initial report, anything that needs follow-up, the detective sergeant makes sure it's assigned to a detective, usually the next detective working, and make sure that all the steps are taken to manage the cases and bring it to fruition, if possible.
And what is it, what are your general duties and responsibilities as a lieutenant with Canton?
Currently, I am in charge of internal affairs, background checks, patrol, and I oversee detectives.
You say currently, what was the problem?
I was promoted in 2021. At that time, Lieutenant Kelleher was the lieutenant in charge of detectives. We have since had a change of police and our assignments have changed.
Now, were you working with Canton Police on the morning of January 29th, 2022?
I was.
And at some point, did you receive a phone call?
I did.
And about what time was that and who called?
That was shortly after 6 a.m. It was Sergeant Sean Good.
And he's a member of your department as well?
He's the 12 to 8 supervisor, which our shifts actually run 11:45 p.m. to 7:45 a.m., but we call it the 12 to 8 shift.
And what, if anything, was indicated to you in this call from Sergeant Good?
Sergeant Good told me he was responding to a scene where a body was found unconscious, possibly not breathing in the snow. He stated his name was John O'Keefe. He was a Boston police officer who resided on Meadows Ave. He further told me that he had gotten a call earlier about John O'Keefe not returning home that night. His friends had called the hospitals, then they called the police, then they went out and looked for him, and they found him unconscious and not breathing in the snow.
And based on that information, what, if anything, did you?
I told him I would respond.
Where were you initially responding to?
I was initially responding to Meadows Ave. I misinterpreted when he said he was a Boston police officer on Meadows Ave. I thought they discovered him on Meadows Ave.
And subsequently, did you learn a different location and respond to that location?
I did.
What was that location that you subsequently determined was where you were going?
When I called the dispatch to find out the exact address, I was told it was 32 Fairview Road.
And that was from the dispatch, is that correct?
That's correct. It was Officer Dever who answered the phone.
That was the officer Kelly Dever, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, did you go straight from home to the scene?
So
or did you
weird
go
that they did
stop somewhere else
32
prior?
Fairview.
I stopped at the Canton Police Department prior to that.
And what was the purpose of stopping at Canton Police Department prior to going to Fairview?
I was picking up some winter gear, and I advised Sergeant Good via the radio that all midnight personnel was to be held till further notice.
And you're saying winter gear, as far as you're responding to the scene, what, if any, other sort of equipment did you procure when you went to Canton Police?
It was clothing. I needed a winter jacket, hat, things of that nature. I was responding in my personal vehicle.
And if you know, about what time was it that you arrived on Fairview Road that morning?
I arrived shortly after 7 a.m.
And when you arrived, what, if anything, was it that you observed upon your arrival?
There were some vehicles pulling away, but parked by where the scene was were 3 Canton police vehicles and one black Toyota pickup truck that is assigned to our detectives.
And who, if anyone else from your department was there at that time?
When I arrived, the three marked units were occupied by Officer Mullaney, Officer Saraf, Sergeant Good, and the Toyota pickup was driven there by Detective Sergeant Lank.
And as far as by the time you arrived, Mr. O'Keefe is no longer on scene, is that correct?
That is correct.
And what, if any, vehicles or apparatus or any personnel from the fire department were on scene by the time that you arrived?
None.
Now, when you first arrived, who, if anyone, did you first sort of speak with on scene?
I first encountered Sergeant Good.
And you had a conversation with him, is that correct?
That is correct.
And who, if anyone else, did you talk to?
Detective Sergeant Lank joined us as well.
And following these initial conversations with Sergeant Good and Detective Sergeant Lank, what did you do with that?
Once they updated me on the case, we decided that we had to process where Mr. O'Keefe was found. It was snowing heavily. Sometimes the wind was blowing north, sometimes it was south. It was changing directions. And we discussed how to process where Mr. O'Keefe was found, because at the time we had no idea how he came to be where he was.
And with respect to that, first, as far as where Mr. O'Keefe was, who, if anyone, directed you to where Mr. O'Keefe had been prior to your arrival?
When I arrived and I spoke with Sergeant Good and Detective Sergeant Lank, they updated me on the case. They had told me that Mr. O'Keefe was transported to the hospital, that they were doing CPR on him at that time. They told me that he was bleeding from the mouth and nose, and that he may have had swelling above one of his eyes. They told me that they transported his girlfriend as well, and they told me the circumstances surrounding that incident. They told me that at some point after the phone call to the police station, friends, the woman's name was Kerry Roberts, picked up Miss McCabe and John O'Keefe's girlfriend, Karen Reed, and they drove around and they discovered Mr. O'Keefe on the left side of the property. I would call it the east side of the property, unconscious and not breathing in the snow.
Now, this area that Sergeant Good directed you to, where he indicated Mr. O'Keefe was, you mentioned that it was snowing heavily at this time, is that correct?
It is correct, yes.
And about how much snow was on the ground in this area at the time that you initially went over?
I would say at least 4 inches of snow.
Now, with reference to, as far as you mentioned, sort of processing, what, if anything, did you and the other officers do with regard to that scene as far as that was concerned?
So it was a unique scene because of the weather. Sergeant Lank had notified Norfolk County CPAC. He had advised them that
Sustained.
I'm sorry, can you rephrase the question, please?
So Detective Sergeant Lank had reached out to Norfolk County CPAC, correct?
That's correct.
And what is CPAC?
It's the State Police Investigative Unit of the District Attorney's Office, Crime Prevention and Control.
And what, if any, as far as that notification is concerned, what is sort of a protocol when you have an unintended death?
So when we have an unintended death, the Norfolk County CPAC unit responds and takes jurisdiction. In this particular case, Mr. O'Keefe was still alive. So they declined to respond at that time.
It may be a term that's pretty well understood, but when you say unattended death, what do you mean by that?
An unexplained death, a person who was alone at the time of their death.
And so at this point, no one from the state police had responded or was responding to the scene at that point.
That is correct.
And so what, if anything, did you and the other officers do with regard to the scene where Mr. O'Keefe had been located in the snow?
So we decided on how we were going to process the area. Our concern was there were some light pink spots in the snow, and we thought it may be blood. So we were discussing how to get to that, uncover the blood safely. We decided we were going to process the scene with a leaf blower. I figured we could direct the snow off the area in a controlled fashion. At that time, Sergeant Good volunteered to go get a snowblower.
When he says a leaf blower, I about died. I'm just saying. When he says leaf blower, and then when he talks about the red solo cups, I'm floored. I'm floored. Like, this is a dead police officer, and this is how you choose to investigate the scene.
But what I told them in the meantime, I wanted to photograph the area. I wanted all the cruisers away from the house. There was one cruiser, I believe, occupied Officer Saraf directly in front of where Mr. O'Keefe was. I wanted him backed up. And there was crime scene tape set up.
Funny.
And it was blowing wildly in the wind. It was serving no purpose at that time. There were no civilians or witnesses about.
See, that's when I said throw the case out. Throw the case out. You're using a leaf blower and red solo cups. Throw the whole case out. He's not getting you. You failed him.
And I knew we had 2 officers who could protect the scene while we processed it. So Sergeant Good, before he left to get the leaf blower, he directed the officers to move their cruisers. I told Sergeant Lank the most important thing he could do at this time would...
Objection.
The objection sustained. Move on to your next question, Mr. Lally.
Now, you mentioned that there was some crime scene tape that was set up around. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And how was that accomplished?
Sergeant Good and my Detective Sergeant Lank put out the crime scene tape.
Do you know what, if anything, they were able to use to attach it to in order to set it up around where they're keeping the found?
I believe they used a fire hydrant, a tree, a flagpole, and I'm not sure what else. I don't recall specifically what it was attached to.
Because there was no crime scene.
With regard, you mentioned there were photographs that were taken prior to the implementation of a leaf blower. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And I can just ask a little bit about that. As far as the leaf blower was concerned, why was that a decision as far as that being an implement to use in this particular scene?
It was a unique scene. There was snow. I had never processed a scene in the snow. I had seen a leaf blower used in the snow, and it's quite effective at being controlled. So that's why it was readily accessible. The scene was debilitating as we were on scene with the weather. Snow was piling up, and I thought that was the best method at that time.
And prior to the arrival of Sergeant Good back to the scene with the leaf blower, what, if anything else, was done to sort of document the scene at that time?
In addition to photographs, what we did was I wasn't sure how the roadway ended. I wasn't sure if there was a sidewalk, a curb, a berm, or whether it was just grass, excuse me. So Sergeant Lank and I dug out what I believe is called a 6-inch Cape Cod asphalt berm, exposed it so we could get a better perspective of how far Mr. O'Keefe might have been off the roadway.
May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Fucking leaf blower. I'm dead. I never processed the scene in the snow. In the snow? Are you serious?
Direct your attention.
In Boston or in Massachusetts? Come on, you guys get more snow than that.
Direct your attention what's currently marked.
You act like you guys don't get
7,
snow.
10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20.
Can't do the leaf blower stuff.
2 and 20. These.
Why are you handing him a whole thing of? You're supposed to take it out. Is that all his pictures? I mean, God, are you serious? He's the only one that took pictures? Okay, Kevin. Fucking leaf blower, man. I use the leaf blower.
Your Honor, may we approach this briefly?
Sure.
Why'd you hand him that whole big fucking thing, man? You mean that's the only pictures you guys took? Was that a big old thing? Man, get the fuck out of here. That is terrible. Fucking leaf blower. So you can blow away them taillight pieces all over the place. That's what happened. He blew the taillight pieces all over. That's why they couldn't find them. The first day. Fucking bullshit, man. Absolute bullshit. Okay, we're back. We're back, Jack. Like we never left.
Mr. Lally, hold on for a sec.
I'll see counsel again at sidebar on this.
Oh my God. You're annoying as fuck, lady. I'll see counsel at sidebar once again. Blah, 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 yada, yada. This shit is freaking funny. Okay, there we go. We're back like we never left.
May I approach the witness just repeat?
Yes. jurors, I had told you before how important it is that our record is clear, and that's why I'm
Okay,
sort
you
of
don't need to
making
explain to them. Jesus
this
Christ.
take longer than it would otherwise. So,
Please don't use this on me. Please don't put this on me. Blah blah blah. You know, I think a lot of sidebars is the reason why these. Yeah.
Mr. Lally, can you simply hand her a note telling her what numbers?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm just writing the
Okay,
numbers.
thank you very much.
I'm just writing notes in the middle of questioning, you dumb fuck.
Thank you.
This is how you not try a case, okay? Like writing notes in the middle of somebody
So I would
being
ask that
on
the
the
next
stand.
13 exhibits be marked. Next 13 photographs in the book be marked. Next 13 exhibits.
Okay.
Hey, lazy fuck. Take him out the goddamn binder unless it's the whole fucking binder, dick face. Dude, you should have all this shit ready. You should know who the fuck you're calling.
Thank you.
Wow. What a waste of time. I can bitch because I'm not on the jury. I swear to you, I don't know if I'd have the patience. I don't know if I'd have the fucking patience. How long is this motherfucker? I know it's like 7 hours and $1,000,000% later. Okay, that's a break. And they're back. And then we got more Paul Gallagher, blah, 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 break. Yeah, damn, how many fucking breaks do they got? Paul Gallagher, strong good. Oh, that's lunch. Strong good all the way to Michael fucking Link. Dirty sons of bitches. I can't wait for them to impeach them. You know, it's pretty sad that when they throw their connections in their face like that. I ain't never seen a case like this before in my life. This is crazy. This is like a conspiracy on top of a conspiracy on top of a conspiracy. What happened to that poor officer? No one knows. No one fucking knows. And they didn't give a fuck enough to do a thorough investigation. Ain't that sad? That's just fucking sad. He deserved better. Shit, every victim deserves better. Hell, they deserve to fucking have their lives. You know, accidents happen and shit like that. And I mean, dude, even if you've gotten a fight, like, come on. You guys were mutually brawling. And you refused to call the fucking paramedics. What a bastard. What a fucking bastard.
It's 21 from 30.
Because I'm not convinced she hit him. I'm just not. I'm not.
All right, you can publish them, Mr. Lally?
No.
Return them to the witness as well.
Yes.
The Commonwealth's doing too much for me to fucking be convinced. Oh well, let me stop spraying. Cases like this irritate the heck out of me though.
I know. Thank you. Ms. Gilman, if I could have the first of those photographs up on the screen.
Come on.
If you can enlarge that.
Jesus, Lally, get it together, bro.
Yeah, Lieutenant, I don't believe that's the first photograph for you, but if you could locate that within the.
Sure. I believe that's Exhibit 30.
If you could just describe to the jury what if anything we're looking at in this exhibit.
So that is in front of 34 Fairview Road in Canton. It's looking westerly or the direction towards Chapman Street. and it's documenting the conditions at the time.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Lieutenant, at any
Not
point,
bad to me. Doesn't look like what it looked like at nighttime when they found these taillight pieces,
Yes.
supposedly. Just saying.
and Ms. Gilman, if I could have the next photograph, please.
The burn, the burn, the burb, the curb.
That
It
is simply
doesn't look like that
documenting
much snow to
that
me.
the number
I'm
34 is on the mailbox. That is 34 Fairview Road.
Do you have a number on that in front of you?
Yes, I do. It's Exhibit 22.
Thank you.
There are two of these, I believe, similar. I just want to make sure I have the
It
correct one.
looks like a few inches. That's it. Like 3 inches. Not no freaking foot and a half
That would
when
be
they
22,
miraculously found taillight.
What's depicted in that photograph, sir, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of sort of
The
the scene and roadway when you arrived that morning?
The leaf
It is.
blowers
It's the
were
mailbox with
happening.
the number 34 on it, and it shows 2 vehicles in the driveway of 34 Fairview Road.
And Ms. Gilman, the next photograph.
Just don't look that.
Maybe you could, Lieutenant, when you locate this,
That's
indicate which exhibit we're looking at in this one.
That's Exhibit 28. It's a different angle of the driveway, showing the third car in the driveway. I wanted to document what was in the driveway at that time.
Okay, so, next
I
photograph.
wanted to document what's in the driveway. But what's not in the driveway is what we need to be worrying about.
It's Exhibit 29, and basically it documents the same thing. The entirety of the house from I guess it would be a westerly view, and the 3 cars that
We
were in the
didn't have
driveway at the
probable
time I
cause,
arrived.
even though there's a dead man in the freaking
next
front,
photograph is
in their front lawn. Jesus. Look at this. Look. It's you can see some freaking grass sleeping through. There's one. I mean, you can see the
I believe
blood.
that's Exhibit 31, and it's a close-up
You can
of
see
where
the
Mr. O'Keefe was
blood.
found, and you can see the very light pink spotting that we thought may be blood, and there was an object in the center as well, which we didn't know what it was at that time.
It was glass.
Subsequent, did you learn what that object was?
Yes,
What did you learn?
it was a broken clear cocktail glass,
Yeah, it was glass. Duh.
and the pink spot was frozen or coagulated blood.
That we use red solo
Next
cups to
photograph,
collect.
Ms. Gilman.
That's Exhibit 23, and it's basically showing that the scene was trampled by rescue workers, witnesses, etc. But
yeah,
you could
you
still
had
see,
to show that it was
the pink
trampled.
spotting in the area where Mr.
Because we
O'Keefe
got to
was.
hide the evidence that,
As far
that
as
there was
footprints,
probably more
within the snow that you
trampling
observed,
by the people in
you
the
indicated
house.
that the scene was trampled or walked over by first responders, correct?
Correct.
And the footprints that you
Doesn't
observed.
look like that much snow there, bud.
What footprints did you?
You see blood, but you don't
areas
see no
around
tail
Mr.
light.
O'Keefe's-
Get
Where
the
it was
fuck
indicated
out.
to you that Mr. O'Keefe's body was, where those footprints located.
They were located between the street and where Mr. O'Keefe was found.
And as far as between where Mr. O'Keefe was found and the house of residence at 34 Fairview, what, if any, footprints did you observe in that area?
I didn't observe any footprints at that time.
Ms. Gilman, if I could ask for the next photograph, please.
Half an hour.
That is Exhibit 24, and it's showing a westerly shot of the scene. Mr. O'Keefe was found in this area
What's
here,
all this
and it depicts
trampling
the
over
wind
here,
blowing in that
sir?
direction.
There's not a body there.
And probably pretty self-evident, but depicts the wind blowing in that direction based on what?
Well, no, but
Yeah, the
it's
flag
these
flying.
fucking pictures. It looks a lot
The next
different.
photograph, Ms. Gilman.
Like you. Hey, I was looking at that, Lally. I was looking at that.
That is Exhibit 20. That is
Hey,
the
that's not much snow, but
I believe it's called a 6-inch Cape Cod asphalt berm that separated the roadway from the
not
property of 34
much
Fairview.
snow,
And look to
sir.
where Mr. O'Keefe was discovered.
The next photograph, Ms. Gilman.
Just some shit. There's
Again,
some
that's a
coagulated
close-up
blood.
of one of the exhibits we saw
There's the
earlier.
glass.
Again, you can see the spotting and the glass here.
And you can see some grass.
believe this is Exhibit 26.
There's like 3 inches on the ground. 3 fucking inches.
Next photograph, Ms. Gilman.
Jesus.
This is Exhibit 27,
You
and
can see
it's
the
some-
blood
what we believed was frozen or coagulated blood spotting.
in the glass. Oh, whoops! I didn't mean to do that. Okay, let me chill out. Let me go. Let me go smoke. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna come off the camera.
And that's a different view, close-up
I'm
of the
still
scene. And that's
here.
Exhibit
I'm in the
32.
chat though.
And the next photograph, Ms. Gilman.
That's when we first uncovered the berm, the 6-inch berm. And it's just a smaller picture close-up of that berm. It's Exhibit 25.
Reference to the sort of uncovering of the berm as you described it, what, if anything, did you use to uncover the berm?
I believe we just used our foot to uncover that.
And what I believe is the last photograph, Ms. Gilman.
This is the location from the berm to where Mr. O'Keefe was found. It's just a long view, and it's Exhibit 21.
May I approach Jones? Just
Yes, yes. Tori.
now, as far as the cruisers with Canton Police Department, what, if any, sort of reporting equipment are they equipped with?
They're with dash cameras, watch guide cameras.
And what, if anything, have you done to review some of that dash camera footage from that?
I've reviewed all of it.
And specifically, have you reviewed dash camera footage from the 683 cruiser, Officer Cyrus cruiser?
Yes, I did.
And Your Honor, if I may, I would ask that it's already been marked as Exhibit 12. I would ask that portion of that be played for the jury at this time.
Okay.
And Ms. Gilman, if you could fast forward this to approximately 57 minutes or so into the Gal, you recognize what's up on the screen as well? And what do you recognize?
That's the video I referred of Canton Cruiser 683 on, it's dated January 29th, 2022 at 7, if the time is correct, 7:02:54.
And around this time, within this video from Officer Cyrus cruiser, what, if anything, did you observe occurring within that cruiser camera?
I believe it's at approximately 57:17. You'll see Sergeant Good begin to mark out the scene with a yellow crime scene tape. You'll see him in front of the cruiser at first. Him, Officer Mullaney, and Sergeant Lank walk off, and then you'll see Sergeant Good stretching out the crime scene tape.
And if you could, sir, as the video is playing, using the laser pointer that you have before you, just draw the jury's attention to who, if anyone, you observe or recognize within that video.
Yes. See, yellow tape it is. There's 2 officers with yellow crime scene tape. I believe this is Officer Mullaney, but I'm not sure. I know this is Sergeant Good.
My apologies, Mr. Chairman, it'd be great to play again.
That's Detective Sergeant Lank in the lighter coat. Sergeant Good and Lank, they walk off camera. You'll see Sergeant Good come into the picture. right here. They're stretching out the crime scene tape. You can see it flapping in the wind there. See it raised way up because of the wind. This is the crime scene tape here. And I'm not sure what they affixed it to, whether it was the cruiser at that point or not. But you can see the crime scene tape going across the scene that way.
I'm just going to, if you could pause it right there for a moment. So, Lieutenant Gallagher, in addition to sort of the crime scene tape that you observed in this video, what, if anything else, did you get from the station to attempt to sort of secure the scene or place at the scene?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Did you get a tent at the station?
Excuse me?
A tent at the station?
No, I didn't. No.
And why not?
I had a tent with me from home. It was a personal 8x8 tent at that time.
I apologize. And so at any point in time on the scene, were you able to set up that tent that you retrieved from your home?
Due to the weather conditions, we did not set it up because it would have required officers holding it down, and we didn't think the top would stay on.
And again, maybe pretty self-evident, but when you say due to the weather conditions, what, if anything, about the weather conditions prevented you from setting that tent up over the state?
There was high winds, shifting directions, a large amount of snow falling.
Ms. Gilman, if I could ask, if you could just pull forward in that video to about the 1 hour, 7 minute mark. Again, if you could play from that. Lieutenant, what, if anything, are we looking at in this portion?
If you look closely, it's the crime scene tape that's flowing around. Right now, you can't see it. Or I cannot see it from here.
Is this around the point where the decision was made to take that down? Is that correct?
It was later on. I observed the same thing, and I told the officers it wasn't doing any good at that time. And there were nobody to keep out of the scene at that point. It was only police personnel on scene.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Gilman, you can stop and take it down. Thank you very much. Now, with reference to the implementation of the leaf law, was that memorialized in any way as well?
Yes, I had Sergeant Good take a video since we were improvising using something I wasn't familiar with being used before, in case there were any questions on how it was deployed. I had Sergeant Good take a short video.
And there's sort of several different short video clips of that process. Is that fair to say?
There's at least one that I know of.
May I approach?
Yes.
So showing you a dance, do you recognize that?
I don't recognize it. I haven't seen this before.
May we approach?
Okay.
Your Honor, Commonwealth please introduce them into.
Okay. Thank you.
My deepest apologies, Your Honor. May we approach this briefly?
Okay. Jurors, feel free to stay.
Oh my God, what the fuck is going on? What is going on? He just looks so evil. All the looks and everything, like, ugh. Okay, let me get past this little bull crap. Ha! The leaf blower! There's the leaf blower!
The last exhibit is this. If I can present it.
Yes.
This is funny shit.
Anyway, this is one.
This is so funny. 3 inches of snow. Barely even covering your boot.
And
And
Lieutenant Gallagher,
you're
do you recognize what's
freaking
up
leaf
on screen?
blower.
I do.
Unreal.
What do you recognize?
It's me operating the leaf blower and at the scene where John O'Keefe was discovered.
And who is operating the leaf blower in these videos?
I am.
And who, if anyone else in your department is present while this process is going on?
Detective Sergeant Lank is documenting, and Sergeant Good is also assisting.
And Ms. Gilman, thank you very much. If you could just play and run.
See, it removes the snow. I was removing the snow layer by layer. And right here, you can see it exposing the cocktail glass. You're going to see red spots appear as I remove it layer by layer. These pink spots start to turn to be dark red
Layer
spots.
by layer, whatever. You could have done
As you
that
see, we
with
can
a
control it.
freaking, broom, you
We
dummy.
were concerned with whatever other.
Oh, hold on and wait for a question.
Yeah, you don't need a narrator. You don't need your little
As you
narrator.
can see, it just takes it layer by layer.
Hold on for a second. Mr. Lally, Ms. Gilman, can you pause it? So if you have a question for the lieutenant, all right, you're asking him to narrate the whole thing. We're not going to do it that way. And you can pause and then question. It's great you're keeping your voice up over the sound of the leaf blower, but it's a little distracting.
I understand, yeah.
So do you have a question, Mr. Lally?
Just briefly at this point. So Lieutenant Gallagher, with respect to as you're conducting this whole process, what anything are you concerned about as far as
It's just ridiculous.
throughout this process?
We don't need your narration.
We were concerned with the weather destroying biological evidence at that time.
Yeah, you use a leaf blower to destroy
We were trying to
biological
take
evidence at that time.
the snow that had fallen over the blood. We were trying to remove it to expose the blood.
Whatever.
And as far as during this sort of
You could
removal
put,
process, how much of the
you
snow were
could
you able
take
to
a shovel, you
sift
can
layer by layer
take
with
a
the leaf
shovel and
We could control how much I wanted to
put
sift.
the-
I did it as
You
I
know,
started out as
I
gently as
mean,
possible, and if it needed
this is
more snow needed to be removed, I got a little more aggressive.
Thank you. Ms. Gilman, if you could.
Asinine.
And the next video, man.
Yeah, let's just fly evidence all over the place. But yet, no taillight pieces are found. None. Not a single one. They've uncovered blood. They've uncovered a cocktail glass. But no pieces of taillight were found. Can you answer me that?
Ms. Gilman, if you could play the third video, please.
Can you? Settle down. Settle down. Settle down. You're acting like a bat out of hell. Oh, Fudge. If there was real evidence there, man, I would hate to see it because he's blowing it all over the place.
Ms. Gilman, if you could play the last video, please.
But what are all those footprints over there? That wouldn't be anybody. I mean, what are these footprints? What are those footprints? Well, we're not paying attention to those footprints, are we? But we got 3 inches of snow here. 3, 1, 2, 3. But we can still see clear as day footprints. Yep. Kevin, I told you, a leaf blower. I told you. I mean, oh yeah, it was. And they say, oh, it was exposing the blood. It was exposing this. Mother effer, you were probably flying that blood particle snow all over the place. What are you doing? You are supposed to take a little shovel and you're supposed to like you're gardening.
To that process, how far deep into the snow were you able to go with
just wait, it gets better.
We get almost to the ground, bare ground.
As far as sort of a surface area,
3 inches of snow, Kevin. 3 inches.
Where Mr. O'Keefe,
but there's no taillight pieces to be found.
It was approximately a 6x6, 7x7.
What did he do? Use the loop blower and throw it all over
from
the
that
place?
area, what if anything, in addition to the cocktail blast?
And what were the footprints in back of him? No one was supposed to be walking there, right? Why are they there?
We didn't observe anything at that point. Anything else? Just the blood in the glass.
Now, Lieutenant, during the time that you were on scene,
yeah, we didn't see anything.
With reference to the neighborhood in general,
imagine
how
that.
many people did you observe?
Because it wasn't there. They planted it.
I didn't observe anybody ever come out of their house.
And that includes the residents that you were in front of, as well as any other residences along that street. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, you
now,
got.
At some point.
Hold on. That is a fucking lie. So you. How did you get red Solo cups, sir? Because you are going to state here shortly, if it's not you, it will be somebody else. But somebody states they got red Solo cups from the neighbor. So if neighbors never came out, how the hell did you get red Solo cups, sir? I mean, you got the leaf blower from a neighbor. But no neighbors were out, huh? Lies.
Period of time, if you know, were you on scene that particular moment?
Approximately 50 minutes, 45 to 50 minutes.
And following that, where did you go?
We brought the exhibits back to Canton Police Headquarters.
And by that you mean the glass and what you would collect of the blood?
Yep, we took 6 blood samples. Yes.
And how were you able to sort of collect the blood samples on scene?
Here we go,
blood samples, because they were frozen, we debated on how to collect it. We didn't think swabbing was going to be easy to do if it was frozen. So we decided on finding some type of temporary plastic evidence container. We were able to find large cups, and we took 6 samples. We bagged the 6 samples, and Sergeant Lang transported them back to Canton Police Headquarters.
And with respect to those samples and piece of glass that you located.
And all of it was found not in a refrigerator or a freezer, mind you, but you see them placed back behind, right by her car. Like, were you trying to plant it there? Along with everything else, sir? Like, this case is wild.
Anyway. Eventually, what if anything was done with those? Well, first and foremost, when you came back to Canton Police Station, what if anything did you do with them?
Just wait.
Chief Berkowitz was at headquarters, and we had a meeting in the detective sergeant's office.
What I'm asking, sir, is with reference to those items that you took back from Fairview when you got back to the station, what if anything did you do?
Sergeant Lang placed them in evidence.
And then subsequent to Sergeant Lang placed.
He didn't place them in evidence. They never made it there. Sir. Who knows where the fucking glass went? Maybe that made it to evidence because you have no logs and you see the freaking 6 containers of blood and snow right there in the Sally Port along with her vehicle, sir.
Placing them in evidence at some point. Where did they go?
They were turned over on February 1st to the Massachusetts State Police crime lab.
They didn't take it.
And was that something where they were driven to the crime
And
lab?
what's funny is they didn't take it. What do you mean? You transferred it over to them, so they just left it in the sally port along with their vehicle, or did you just happen to just put it there? You figured it was cold enough, maybe? I don't know. I guess I'm a dumb blonde. You know, I am blonde after all. Maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I'm freaking dumb. I don't like all these lies.
Or the crime lab comes to the station?
The crime lab was already at the station.
Now, you go back to the police station and have some conversation with your chief. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And what was your chief's name?
Chief Berkowitz, Kenneth Berkowitz.
And following that conversation,
Chief Berkowitz was the one that helped Higgins hide the body.
at some point, did you return to Fairview Road that morning?
I did.
And with anyone did you go there with?
I accompanied Detective Sergeant Lank.
And when you arrived, where did you go with?
You guys are evil. And let's talk about Sergeant Lank for a minute, because that didn't come out in this trial, but I guarantee they're going to bring it up in the next trial. Sergeant Lank was ahead of the freaking Sandra Birchmore case, and well, let's just say one of your own officers ended the girl's life. And you guys tried to brush it under the rug. Shh, it's all safe here. We got the brothers in blue together. Circle of trust, right? Right, dude? Yeah, you're dirty. You're all dirty.
We went into a side door, and there were people in the kitchen at that time. I believe it was the kitchen area.
And did you know any of the people that were in the kitchen?
I did.
Who, if anyone, did you know?
Who I remember specifically was Jen McCabe, who I...
Oh, but you went in the house, but you didn't search it? This is another great thing. Oh, yeah, I went in the house, and they were all in the kitchen area. Did you search the house? No, I didn't have probable cause. There's a dead man on your front lawn, and you don't have... There's a dead man on their front lawn, and you don't have... You don't have... probable cause? Wow. I'm over it. Because you know what? If it was a fucking citizen, you'd be searching high and low, in and out of their doors, being nosy as a motherfucker when you're just looking for evidence.
Don't know personally, but I know because that's who Sergeant Lank arrived to talk to, and I knew Brian Albert in a professional sense.
See, that's where you fucked up. You shouldn't have said, I don't know her personally. Bullshit! You all know each other. Y'all live there. Y'all run together. I guarantee you know her. Sergeant Lank knows her.
Brian Albert is also a police officer, is that correct?
He's a Boston police officer, yes.
Now,
Gallagher. Yes, you got to protect the brothers in blue. What about the brother in blue that was lying dead on his front lawn? Doesn't he get justice? Oh, but you got to protect your own, right? Oh, that only applies to the living, not the dead, correct? Fuck out of here.
Now, as far as any other people, with anyone else, were you introduced to when you came into a kitchen area?
I wasn't introduced to anybody. All I know is there were 5 or 6 people there.
And are you familiar with a gentleman by the name of Brian Higgins?
I am.
How are you familiar with him?
He is an ATF agent who I've worked with when I was assigned to DEA.
Oh, you wait, hold on. You know Brian Higgins? Oh, that even opens the door even more. You know Brian Higgins, the one that was texting Karen, and because she blew him off like weeks ahead of time, and he texts her that night, well, like, are you going to talk to me? You going to pay attention to me? Show me some kind of something, right? Because he was all up on her clit, right? Sorry, my videos are not made for young kids. But you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, dude. I didn't, man, now this opens a can of worms even more. See, I wasn't trying to believe the conspiracy. I wasn't trying to believe it. But everything that's coming out your mouth is given conspiracy, homeboy. Shame.
And he later had a satellite office at our PD. And I have since come to know him personally.
That's another thing. That's another thing. Since when does the ATF hold office in a police department? Since when? And you just all nonchalantly, oh yeah, cool.
And in reference to your work with DEA, how long did you work with DEA?
13 years.
So, Mr. Higgins, was he present in the home on Fairview when you arrived there that morning?
Oh, you worked with the DEA with
I
him
don't recall
for
him
13
when I
years?
arrived originally. Definitely not. I don't recall if he was there when we arrived about 9 a.m.
Yeah, you can't say that you've seen him there because, that would blow the case wide open, right? Right, I know. But logs say he was. Those little swipey cards that you do? Yeah, the defense has them. You couldn't log evidence, but, the login card swipes fucking were found.
So you don't recall him being there at all?
I don't recall specifically. I never had any conversation with him.
Yeah, right.
Now, you had made some mention of February 1st, a few days later, at your department, other members from the crime lab that came, correct?
That is correct.
And what, if anything, did they come there to do?
They were assisting the state police in executing a search warrant on a motor vehicle.
And
oh, Kevin, if you're still here, just wait until they get to some of the videos from, the said Sally Port that I keep on telling you about. Just wait till they all come into play because they've all been doctored, darkened, all this stuff so you can't see what the fuck they're doing type shit. Yeah, those are great too.
And where was that motor vehicle in relation to your department?
It was in our Sally Port.
If you could just describe to the jury, so what is it? Sally?
And this is another thing, okay? The Canton police had to fucking recuse themselves because the brother of the homeowner works for them. And it is conflict of interest. So they had to recuse themselves, right? If a police department is recused, why in the hell is a suspect murder vehicle that was found, the dude was found on the cop's brother's cop lawn, and you recuse yourself. It shouldn't be there. It should be at the Massachusetts State Police Department. That's another weird thing.
Specifically, Canton, it's where it's located, what does it look like?
Sure, it's on the rear portion of our police department. They are large overhead doors that are numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. We only have 2 bays. So the Sally Port that the vehicle was in, typically we enter through door 4 and you would exit through door 3. Those doors, overhead doors, can only be controlled by a computer in the dispatch center. And it's where we bring in our prisoners once the
Oh, doors can only open. Okay, because I was like, wait a minute, I seen them closing it.
The Sally Port goes up, you enter, close the door, the area is secure. The rest of the PD is only accessible by access card, key access card.
Oh yeah, wait till that comes.
And sort of the overhead garage doors are accessible only by
That access key card.
That is correct. The
What's
computer in the dispatch area.
up, King Eye?
And as
Well,
far
how are
as,
you?
entrance from the department, how
I'm cutting up over here.
There is a, to the right of Sally Port 4, there is a key card access door.
Now, with reference to that Sally Port area, is there, if any, cameras are located in that area?
I know there's cameras in the area. I don't specifically know where they are. I typically don't.
Oh, you know where they are. You know where they are. Don't lie. Don't lie. You work in the police department. You know where those cameras are. Liar.
Look for them. I know it is under our surveillance, as most of our department is.
I don't look for them. Nobody's what is that? A guilty conscience that you're looking for cameras, bud? Huh? What about the camera across the way? How come you never looked there? How come you never asked any of the neighbors if there was camera footage? Huh? Because nowadays people have Ring camera footage. You know those little door thingies? They have them all over the place. You guys had did a shitty job.
And have you reviewed at least portion or the entirety of the Sally Ford video from that particular day, February 1st?
I've seen a small portion. Yes.
May I approach with you, Sean?
Yes.
Can you approach him and fucking slap him? Oh. Cops like this, I hate. Cops like this, I fucking hate. That thin blue line. Oh, but don't cross the line. Fudge out of here.
You recognize what's depicted on that particular flash drive?
Yes.
And what is depicted on that, sir?
CPD cell report videos.
Here we go, Kevin. This is great.
Any objection?
These are the best evidence ever. How they're in evidence, I'll never know. You might as well not even show them. No, I actually should show them. Show how corrupt you guys are.
If I may, at this time, publish a portion of Exhibit 34. Sure.
Okay.
Oh, shush. Hurry up, Lally. God, you take forever.
May I have one moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
Can I have one moment so we can brace ourselves on what we're going to see? Nothing. Why? Because they doctored the video.
So, Ms. Kilman, if I could have the portion that's February 1st, that covers 12 a.m. to 12 noon.
Hello. Yes, Mountain Dew again. I'm really trying to quit Mountain Dew. Like, I've been on, shit. I gave it fucking regular food for salads. And I miss regular food, but hey, I love salad, so I'm trying to lose weight.
You're gonna do one at the bottom. Yeah.
My back is killing me. Oh. Oh. Come on, back. Dude. You were as slow as molasses and I got you fucking fast. Dude. Oh my God, this is the only reason why I'm not looking forward to this next trial. This is anyways.
Ms. Kilman, if I could ask you to just fast forward that to approximately 9:11 a.m.
Come on. Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
Just pause 1 second.
She hasn't even started playing it. You tell her to pause 1 second. Jimmy, Christmas. I will say this though. Ever since I hooked my my Ethernet cable to my freaking
Why don't we take our morning
I have
recess?
oh my God.
Why don't we
Of
take a 10,
course.
15-minute recess?
Let's take our morning recess, you rat. Now I gotta fast forward. Shit.
All right, hurry up.
Do 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 do. Do.
Nancy.
He looks so angry. angry all the time. Wow. Like, I would be disgusted. I would.
So
I would
in
be disgusted.
presenting the exhibits for to be marked, please take them out of the plastic and out of the envelopes because the actual item itself gets a sticker on it. That would just save a little time. We're having all sorts of difficulties. FTR is not working. I'm not sure that we're getting any internet in here. Are we all set with this? Is there something? Do you want to use the flash drive that you put in? Does that help?
On
Or you-
the
No, I
damn
think
computer,
the initial issue, I think, is sort of the size of the video. So bringing it up can be a little, my issue was that as I was standing over there, I couldn't really see anything
Yeah.
as far as the screen.
It's dark.
that dark when you
I
look.
couldn't open any of
doctored
this
it,
this weekend on
dummy.
my home computer, on my work computer. So, all right, why don't we take a 10-minute
doctored it.
recess?
All right, court, please.
I really can't see anything. Well, duh, because they doctored it. Dummy. No. Come on. Okay, let's go. Here we go, Kevin. Lights, camera, action.
All right, are we all set? With the
Okay,
screen?
make sure you get your eyes as close as possible to the screen, because you ain't gonna see nothing. They doctored the video.
Maybe better with the lights, I'm sorry, Mr. Officer, maybe a little bit.
Or it was broken, whatever they say.
Lieutenant Gallagher, again, from this video from approximately 9:11 in the morning, do you recognize what's up on the screen?
I do.
If you could
But they just
using that
barely
way to
got
direct
this
your
video,
attention,
so,
what
you know,
anything is significant to observe in this particular pause of this video?
This is our Sally Port. You would come in Sally Port 4, exit Sally Port 3, like I said earlier. This is the vehicle they were executing a search warrant on, and this is the crime scene tape.
And as far as personnel, state police that were present there, who, if anyone, was present there that you knew or were aware of?
I knew Trooper Proctor was there, and I knew the criminologist was there, and a photographer. I don't know them by name.
So a couple people from the lab, one taking photos, one criminalist, is that correct?
Correct.
As well as Trooper Proctor.
That's correct.
Do you know Trooper Proctor?
I knew of him. I don't believe I ever met him prior to this. He has worked some cases with our detectives. I knew he was assigned to the DA's office.
Don't
But
lie.
I'm not sure if I ever met him prior to this case.
Now, with reference to the vehicle, if anything was placed around the vehicle, or did you observe around the vehicle?
There's crime scene tape, as you can see the yellow tape right there.
Yes, yes.
Just to be clear, the sort of
yes. You
part
put
of the
crime
vehicle
scene
is
around
sort
the
of in the lower
vehicle,
foreground
but you
of
don't put crime scene
This is the
around
passenger side rear of the vehicle.
where the guy passed away or was
At some
lifeless.
point over the course of the time that you were there on February 1st, what if any other sort of specialized units within the state police
That's
were also present?
I mean, this
Eventually, I think they call it the CARS team. What I would call their, I guess, accident reconstruction team responded.
Probably.
Now, Ms. Gilman, if I could ask you to fast forward within that video to part 9.
Okay, how long does he got? 'Cause I need to smoke. And these are great. Okay, come on. I need to see him. Hurry up. Hurry up. I need to see the video. Are you really taking forever? Okay, let's see what we can see.
Okay.
I mean, why are we fast forwarding shit? Why are people moving in and out of the
part of the video? In addition to the people that you've already referenced, who, if anyone else, was in the garage at that time?
People are moving in.
It's hard for me to say. I believe this is the criminalist. I believe if this is Trooper Proctor, this is me with the gray shirt walking in. That's me right there. And that's Trooper Proctor. I believe the photographer or another criminologist is here. I don't know what their title is.
Now, at some point,
You gotta
during the
see
execution of the
Buddy.
search warrants, what, if any, issues did you become aware of with regard to the criminal?
They were having trouble. They were trying to remove the housing to the tail light, passenger side tail light, and they were having difficulty removing it.
And what if any
Okay,
assistance did you
we
offer
need
with
to look
regard
at down
I
here.
told them that we had an officer working who was in charge of our fleet
Down
maintenance
here,
and our mobile operations unit, who probably had the tools to
That's
do
all
it.
in there.
He also had vast, extensive experience in auto body.
Who was that, sir?
It's Officer Brian Wanless.
And what, if anything, did you do with reference to Officer Wanless in regard to that area?
But it's
I
just
asked
so weird
dispatch
that
to ask him
everyone
to
was
return
laying it out.
approximately,
It's so
I think it was
dark.
9:50.
And Ms. Gibbons, if I could ask if you are not already there, I'll move it up to 1 a.m.
It's just so funny that it's all gone. It's all gone. They ruined it. Because it wasn't like this before.
Can you just pause it for 1 moment?
If Karen
So
was
with
smart,
reference
she
to,
should have went out there and took
this
videos
particular
of her
portion
own.
of the video, Lieutenant, if you could direct the jury's attention to when you see Officer Wanless and
Don't
when you
just
see him
leave it up
fall
to the
toward that
cops.
vehicle. And Ms. Gilman, for your purposes, what I would ask is
Nowadays, we all got cell phones. Use them to your advantage. Okay, everybody's leaving. See, they don't like me, Kitty. They don't like me. It's all good. I don't care.
This is Officer Wanless right here.
I
He
think
examines
I'm
it
hooked.
and he leaves momentarily.
Don't like my personality, then they need to kick rocks.
He dons a pair of gloves.
Yeah,
and
they
he
had to call
exits, and
mechanic.
he's going to come
The
back with some
mechanic.
tools.
Okay, I'm gonna go freaking smoke, even though this is great fun. Then I'll be in
Here
the
comes.
chat.
He places his toolkit on the tailgate.
Objection, Your Honor.
Okay, pause and ask a question.
And from your review of this video, what, if anything, do you observe Officer Wanless do with reference to that rear passenger side taillight?
He re-enters the sally port and with some tools, and he places his toolkit down on the tailgate of the Lexus.
And what, if anything, do you observe him do after that?
He begins to work on the housing of the tail light.
Ms. Gilman, if you could. Thank you, Ms. Gilman. You can take it. Lieutenant, with respect to an item that you and the other officers recovered from 34 Fairview on the 29th, the criminalist that was depicted in that video was after you gave those items to?
I believe so, yes.
You gave those items to her directly, correct?
Yes.
Now, as far as that particular, I believe you testified earlier that you were looking to preserve biological matter, is that correct?
Yes.
And fair to say that your search of that area was confined to sort of where it was described to you, Mr. O'Keefe, had been found, correct?
That is correct.
Now, turning back again just to February 1st, and sorry to jump around, but back to February 1st, at some point you mentioned there was a crash reconstructions from the state police, is that correct?
That's correct.
And what, if anything, did you aid or assist or facilitate with reference to crash reconstruction that's around the police station?
When they wanted to test the vehicle, I secured the parking lot. I advised no cruisers to return to the station, and I blocked the entryway with my marked cruiser and remained in my cruiser.
And later on that day, February 1st, where, if anywhere, did you go with respect to the crash reconstruction?
We went to 34 Fairview.
In addition to yourself and the trooper from the crash reconstruction, who, if anyone else, went with you?
Trooper Proctor was present.
And why did you go along with the troopers to that location?
Just so there was a Canton officer present. If any residents came out, I could communicate with them.
And to your knowledge, had Trooper Proctor been to Fairview prior to that date?
I have no knowledge if he had been there or not.
What, if anything, did you direct either Trooper Proctor or the crash reconstructionist to once you were on scene?
Brought him to the area of where Mr. O'Keefe was found.
You showed them where Mr. O'Keefe was found?
Yes.
Now, turning your attention to, well, one on scene that day with Trooper Proctor and the crash reconstructionist, what, if anything, did you observe them to do?
I believe they were discussing, they were trying to place a drone up in the air, I believe, to map out the area.
Objection.
Did you see that? Or do you want me to strike the, I believe they were trying to?
That'd be okay.
All right, so that will be stricken, but your observation will remain.
Now, with reference, if I could draw your attention to February 4th of 2022, were you working that day?
I wasn't.
And at some point, did you receive a call in regard to this case, this investigation?
I did.
And what did one call?
Chief Berkowitz.
And what, if anything, did Chief Berkowitz indicate?
He asked me if I was working. When I told him no, he asked who was.
And who, if anyone, did you indicate to him was?
I told him Detective Sergeant Lank was working.
And as far as what, if anything, was that call in reference to?
He stated he was driving in the area of 34 Fairview because of the warm weather and the warm rain in the last couple of days.
What, if anything, did he indicate?
He believed.
Sustain. I'm going to see your side back, please.
And so just to be clear, Lieutenant, you did not go to Fairview Road on February 4th, 2022, correct?
I did not.
I have nothing further for this one.
All right, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Lieutenant.
Good morning.
When was the first time you were ever interviewed about your conduct on this case, your involvement in this case?
I don't recall.
It was about a month ago, wasn't it? April 3rd, 2024?
When I was interviewed by, I don't know who you're referring to.
Formal interview by any law enforcement agency.
Oh, I was never, until about a month ago, prep. I was not interviewed, correct.
And that interview was conducted by whom?
I met at the DA's office with the prosecutor, Adam Lally.
And there was also a state trooper there?
There was.
Lieutenant Tully?
Correct.
Okay. So Michael Proctor never formally interviewed you about your involvement in the case?
No, sir.
Never interviewed you about your involvement on the morning of January 29th, 2022?
No, sir.
Never interviewed you about your recovery of any physical evidence at the scene?
No, sir.
Which would include the bloodstains as well as the piece of drinking glass?
That's correct.
Okay. Never interviewed you about where that evidence ultimately went and how it made its way back to Canton Police Department?
He never interviewed me, no.
And his partner, Yuri Bukik, also, I won't go through the litany of things, never interviewed you as well?
Correct.
And until April 3rd, 2024, nobody from the DA's office had interviewed you either?
That's correct.
Did you write a report about your involvement in the case?
Not on that particular day.
Did you write a report after that?
Yes.
When did you write that report?
Possibly January 2023. I believe it was the request for the metadata, the acquisition of the photos report.
Okay, fair enough. Did you ever, I'll narrow my question. Did you ever write a report about your involvement on the day at the scene?
No, I did not.
So that's not documented, at least by you, that's not documented anywhere.
That's correct.
Did you take notes when you were at the scene?
No.
Did you go back to the station and memorialize your findings and your conduct at the scene by taking
did not.
So you have no notes and no report about anything that happened at Fairview on the 29th.
Not myself, no.
Were you ever instructed by any superior? You're pretty high up in the ranks. You reported to whom?
At that time, I reported to the chief of deputy chief of police.
Right, either the deputy chief or the chief.
Correct.
Did either the deputy chief or the chief instruct you, Lieutenant, don't worry about writing a report in this case?
No, they never said anything like that.
You would agree that it's one thing to respond to a scene, it's another thing to actually gather evidence at a scene.
That's correct.
Especially a scene where it's a potential, at that time, a potential homicide of a police officer.
That's correct.
Part of the reason for annotating, memorializing exactly what evidence is recovered is so you can relay that to other officers, correct?
Correct.
So for instance, in your direct examination just a few minutes ago, you said that you went back to the scene at one point. What was the date where the drone was considered?
February 1st.
You go back to the scene on February 1st. That's 3 full days after the event, correct?
That is correct.
After the incident. And you said, I directed them to where John O'Keefe's body was found, correct?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
But in fact, you never saw John O'Keefe's body, did you?
That's correct.
Okay. So you were giving them information that you had about which you had no personal knowledge, correct?
I had knowledge from other officers. I did not see John O'Keefe at the scene. He was transported to the hospital. That is correct. Yes.
Right. So you couldn't determine exactly how he was positioned, right?
Not precisely.
From head to toe, right?
Not precisely.
Where his arms or his hands were.
That is correct. Yes.
He's a 6'2" man, correct?
I don't know.
You don't even know that?
I don't know his size, no.
If I told you that he's over 6 feet tall, would you have any quarrel with that?
If Mr. Lally told me, I would take it as fact.
Fair enough. For purposes of my question, you don't want to take my word for it, but for purposes of this question, assuming that he's over 6 feet tall, there's a better than 6 foot margin for where he would be situated in the snow, correct? From toe to head.
Correct.
And the details matter in a case like this. Any investigation, the details matter.
Surely.
Accuracy is vital in a homicide investigation, correct?
Correct.
You did find some blood droplets. We saw it on the screen, correct?
Correct.
You also found part of the drinking glass, correct?
That is correct.
Did you engage or did you endeavor to make a diagram of exactly where those items were found?
No.
You're aware, you were the former chief of detectives?
I was a detective sergeant.
Detective sergeant. You were supervisor over detectives.
Correct.
You're aware of what cross coordinates are in measuring a crime
Okay,
scene,
hold
correct?
on.
Yes.
So I love to argue, but I don't like to. I mean, because I'm old. I'm old school. Like I'm stuck in my ways type of shit. So I love to argue. But yeah. I don't. It depends on who I'm arguing with. Like I can't do this petty arguing bullcrap back and forth shit. Because people get in their feelings too much, and I just can't do it. Like it took me a long time to like. Lord have mercy. That's basically, I like to debate, but I get loud. I've always been loud. My dad was deaf. I mean, you had to talk really loud to fucking be heard. I mean, even, we called it selective hearing because swear to you that man could hear word for word what you say if you were whispering. But if you were yelling, he's like, what? But anyways, I don't know. Like YouTube was a whole new beast. Like I thought, oh yeah, let me come on YouTube and argue. But no, I can't do all that pansy shit. People wanting to know all your info. Like really, you have nothing better to do in your real life than to look up my info? Like what? You trying to be me? Yeah, we've all done shit we don't like. And anyways, okay.
Stable item like a flagpole, for instance, that might be one that doesn't move. You measure exactly from a compass position, exactly north or exactly west, a number of inches, maybe even down to meters and millimeters.
Okay, let me tell you something about her defense attorneys. I fucking love them. Like they just get back down to the bottom. They ain't gonna sit there and sugarcoat nothing. They're like, hey, yo, do you even know how to measure all this other dumb shit? Do you not know how to take a measure and freaking put a tape measure to know the length of the body, from here to here, document that shit. Do you know how to do anything like that? Because you failed this man. And why would you borrow leaf blowers and solo cups from a fucking neighbor to collect evidence? Absolutely asinine. And the only thing you found was a cocktail glass. Now tell me, in 3 inches of snow, how the fuck you didn't find her taillight pieces? But they go back that night and there's 1.5 feet of snow and they find miraculously 3 taillight pieces, Mm-hmm. Which I don't believe, but yeah, anyway. Mm-hmm.
Use that instead of inches, using meters, right?
Yeah, we don't employ that process.
So you don't employ a process where you could measure something from a known item, north, south, east, or west, and measure it from another known item and have an exact cross.
I don't know what
we don't.
that is.
We don't typically exercise in that in our
That's the
investigative
length
unit.
of my body.
You knew how to do that, though.
Yes.
I mean, you get trained on
Now
that.
my
Yes,
width,
but you
we
didn't
ain't
employ
doing
that technique
that.
here.
No.
So the glass, when the glass was found, it's sort of an estimate.
Sure. Yes.
Okay. And where the blood was found, that's kind of an estimate also.
Yeah, we would guess that would be where his body was. Yes.
Okay. You just used the word guess.
Yes.
Right? But if you had actually documented it using cross coordinates, you wouldn't have to guess. You'd know exactly where the tip of his head was, where the tip of his toes were, correct?
No.
Why not?
Because he wasn't there when we got there.
Fair enough. When I say you, I meant other officers. If someone had employed that before he was moved, they could have figured out exactly how he was situated, where he was in that yard, correct?
It would never happen. Life-saving measures come first. The officers are not going to start measuring while first responders are conducting life-saving measures. It doesn't happen.
That's exactly right. But once the
body is removed, sir, that's when you do measurements with your little geeky little weirdo.
Once the body was moved, for instance, Officer Saraf, who's literally standing there, could have said, okay, I just saw the tip of his head right here. He's now on the gurney. And he could have measured that, right?
He could have, yes.
And then he could have said the tip of his toes were right here, and he could have measured that.
You know, if you would have caught me in my 20s or before I had a kid, I would have been like, I'm fat in all the right places. But since again, I'm fat in all the wrong places. I'm still fat in the right places, but the wrong place needs to go. That's just it.
And certainly, when there's no life-saving measures at play, you could have done the same thing with the drinking glass and the blood spots.
That's correct.
And in terms of...
People tell me I'm a troll because I like to joke and have fun, right? So people tell me I'm a troll, and I'm like, no, I'm not a troll. I just got a body of one. Okay, my bad. Blood spots. Here we go.
Recovering those blood spots. I'll get back to that in a second. But in terms of recovering those blood spots, you indicated that you used temporary evidence containers, correct?
Plastic cups.
Red Solo Cup gave me a whole new meaning.
I said yes.
How did you acquire?
Before responding to 34 Fairview, and you indicated that you were told to respond to 32 Fairview, right?
That is correct.
That was a mistake on either dispatch's part or something.
Correct.
You figured out where to go once you got there.
You can tell by the emergency lights.
Come on, if you don't know the right places, I don't know what to tell you. I've always had a fat ass. There we go. This is inappropriate.
It was Sergeant Good who contacted you, correct?
That is correct.
And you were at home at the time.
That is correct.
Which is why you needed to respond to Canton PD to get some foul weather here, correct?
Correct.
You also contacted Brian Albert's neighbor, someone by the name of Tom Keller, correct?
That is correct.
And you wanted to let him know that you were responding over to the scene.
Yes, he was the lieutenant in charge of detectives at the time.
Lieutenant in charge of detectives, and also the man who lived directly across the street from Brian Albert, correct?
I would say there's 2 property lines he's directly across from, 32 and 34. Okay. But yes, that vicinity.
Okay.
Yeah, try to distance him far away from 34 Fairview as far as you can from the other cop's lawn. Yes, try to do that, please.
Is there a reason that you didn't contact Chief Berkowitz on that day to let him know where you were responding? Why did you pick Deputy Chief Keller?
Because that would be my next call. Like I said, he is the lieutenant in charge of detectives at the time. We were responding to a possible.
You know, you contacted Berkowitz because That's how it was all concocted. Because you're friends with Higgins. Higgins probably called you and called Chief Berkowitz and said, hey, I'm in charge of this, buddy. Huh. Then blue line
crime scene, possible unattended death. He would be my call.
The normal chain of command.
Correct.
Okay. But you knew at the time that Chief Berkowitz was actually out on leave, having been injured on duty in some sort of way.
I don't recall that. Chief Berkowitz is always present.
Oh, no, you're not going to try to slide that one off. Look at that little smile. I didn't know he was on leave. He was always present. No, he was always present when one of you doofuses got in a fucking issue. Anyways. Get the hell out of here.
Not only did you respond to the scene, but you were tasked by one of your superiors, or you, as the ranking officer on the. I guess I should ask this first. Forgive me. Were you the ranking officer on scene when you arrived?
Yes, sir, I was.
So either having been tasked by one of your superiors, or because you were the ranking officer on scene, did you take over the coordination of the preservation of that crime scene?
Yes, I did.
So others were sort of answering to you.
Correct.
You indicated that you had never preserved a crime scene in the snow before.
That's correct.
30 years plus, and your policing experiences here in the Boston area?
Correct.
Snow's a lot.
Thank you for saying that, because I just said that. You live in Massachusetts, the Boston area, and you ain't never did a crime scene in the snow. I call bullshit.
Sure.
In 30 plus years, you've never processed a crime scene in the snow?
No, I have not.
Lucky you.
Well, we don't typically process our own crime scenes. Sometimes we use the state police. Sometimes we use Plymouth County detective.
What? Wait, hold on, sir. Then why didn't you call in Plymouth County, or why didn't you call in the other? I mean, that doesn't even make sense. We don't typically do our own crime scenes. Okay, well, what do they call you guys? I would hate for another county to call you
the state police
and ask you to freaking come do their crime scenes because you'd use leaf blowers and red Solo cups and wouldn't even preserve the freaking crime scene. You would leave it unattended for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours until the freaking CERT team came down after her car was already in possession of the Massachusetts State Police in Canton.
Taking them aside because they were not tasked on this call yet.
Right.
You were then in charge of preserving the
See,
crime scene, right?
That's correct.
What exactly did you do, if you can name the categories? What exactly did you do to actually preserve the entire crime scene?
I'm sure I can tell you that I had Sergeant Good move all the cars so I could photograph the scene, documented by photo evidence.
I had Sergeant Good move all the. The first thing you do is coordinate off the fucking crime scene. You know that, right? You know that, sir. Do you not know that, sir? Hello, sir. And you did the one side of the street, but you didn't do the other side of the street showing the curve. You didn't do that part, did you? But she drove her car 22 miles backwards in the snow and didn't end up in their house. And hit him in the process. Yeah. And all she broke was a tail light. And all he broke was his face, sadly. Sounds like somebody beat him up.
Or I told Detective Sergeant Lake, make sure he has initial statements from everybody present. And that's basically what we did prior to searching the scene itself.
I'm about to kiss my motherfucking self. Never mind.
With regard to Sergeant Lang, you told him to make sure that we had statements, your words, we had statements from all the witnesses that were at the scene.
Initial statements, yes.
Does that mean the people inside the house?
Yes.
Maybe people across the street, if there were people across the street?
No, it didn't include them at the time. It included people that were involved from the prior night's incident outing, I would call it.
At the time that you tasked Sergeant Lang with this responsibility, did you...
Okay, yeah. It included all the people that were out the night before, blah, blah, blah. Well, only a few, only the family members of the people in the house. And you guys didn't search the house.
No, personally, that you were standing on the property of Brian Albert?
I did.
Did you also know that Sergeant Lank had an ongoing and a long-time relationship with the Albert family?
Objection.
Did you know that?
I know he knew them. I think
Wow,
you're
did you?
mischaracterizing the relationship.
Did you see a problem with having somebody who knew the parties?
I think you're mischaracterizing the relationship. Stop it. He helped them when they got into a fucking fight, sir. With the Hernandez brothers or whatever, the Oriachi or I'm sorry, I don't remember their names. But that came out in this trial, sir. See, you're trying to distance yourself, and I don't like it. Like, it shows like your credibility is out the door. Yeah, I mean, your credibility was out the door when I heard leaf blowers and fucking red Solo cups, not gonna lie.
Taking the initial statements from those parties?
And when I actually seen the red Solo cups, I was done. When I seen they were in a Stop and Shop back, just, flung on the freaking Sallyport ground right next to the side by side or whatever, dude.
Not at all, Sergeant Lank. No issue at all.
Not in your mind?
Not in my mind.
Were you aware that before you got to the location, that Sergeant Lank had taken it upon himself to already make contact with the individuals in the house?
Objection.
I'm going to see you at sidebar, please.
I'll see you at sidebar. Fuck out of here, lady. I'm going to be pausing this whole damn trial like so much. Okay, how long is a sidebar with his goofy little smile?
When you interviewed with, and you said that you...
Let me find it. Look at how she's looking at him. That's priceless. Come back. Come back, come back, come back. I love the way she's looking at him. I do. He's got a deep voice like that, kid.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I? Lieutenant, just before we went to sidebar, I'd asked a quick question. Were you aware at the time that you tasked Sergeant Lank to go talk to the folks inside the house that he had already gone into the house to talk to them?
Yes, I did.
You indicated that one of the reasons, I'd like to move back. I'm bouncing around a little bit. I apologize.
I understand.
One of the things that you talked about was the preservation of the crime scene and the lack thereof because of the inclement conditions.
Correct.
There was wind blowing from all directions.
Yes.
There was snow falling.
Yes.
It was icy cold out.
Yes.
There was already snow accumulated on the ground, about 4 inches, you said.
At least it was different spots because of the wind drifts.
Wouldn't that be even more of a reason in a potential homicide investigation to adequately preserve the scene as best you possibly could?
We didn't know it was a homicide investigation.
Wouldn't you want to, for instance, protect the area? You mentioned the tent.
Yes.
Wouldn't you want to make sure that anybody from the civilian side and or officers don't just start traipsing through the middle of the crime scene?
That was all done.
As a matter of fact, the first responders the EMTs had already done what they needed to do in the scene. And Mr. O'Keefe had been transported to the hospital, correct?
That is correct.
So that was not a concern.
No.
So nobody needed to be inside that scene that wasn't authorized to be there.
That's correct.
Civilian or officers.
That's correct.
Who was it that told you specifically where John O'Keefe's body was?
I don't recall specifically. I had a collaborative meeting with Sergeant Lank and Sergeant Good.
Were you aware at the time that you had the meeting with Sergeant Lank that Sergeant Lank did not ever see John O'Keefe's body in the position?
Yes, I did. I don't believe Sergeant Good did, to my knowledge. I believe John O'Keefe may have been in the ambulance at that time.
John O'Keefe, I'm sorry, I got a little confused. John O'Keefe may have been in the ambulance at which time?
When some of the officers arrived.
So if that were the case, then they wouldn't have any personal knowledge of where John O'Keefe's body was either.
Not to your precise locations, yes.
You mentioned the tent, and you said that you, in an answer to a question by Mr. Lally, you did not go back to Canton PD to get the tent. You had a tent in your trunk or something?
That's correct.
Okay.
Then why did you use it?
When you interviewed with Lieutenant Tully, did he specifically ask you, this is about a month ago, did he ask you about the tent?
I don't recall.
Would it refresh your recollection if you were to review just a small snippet of your report, of his report?
Yes.
About your interview?
Yes.
May I approach you on it?
Yes.
Oopsie.
And
Let's impeach
direct your attention to
you.
paragraph 4. Tell me if you recognize that document.
I don't recognize the documents. First time I've seen it.
Fair enough. Does it, read the highlighted portion and tell me whether that refreshes your recollection about a conversation you had with Lieutenant Tully about the tent.
Okay, I didn't have.
Read it to yourself.
Yes, okay.
You've read that?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you recall telling Lieutenant Tully,
Oh, you can ask him what if that refreshes his recollection.
does that refresh your recollection at this point?
It doesn't change my recollection.
You said you didn't recollect exactly what you told Lieutenant Tully about the tent. And I'm asking, does that refresh your recollection about what you told Lieutenant Tully about the tent?
Yeah, that's not what I said about the tent.
Okay, so you didn't say,
Oh, so they lied.
I drove to
So
Canton PD
Lieutenant
headquarters
Tully
to retrieve a
lied
tent
on you?
to protect the area where O'Keefe was found from falling snow, but never used the tent due to high winds.
We didn't have a tent at that time.
That wasn't my question. I'm being very specific. Did you say that to Lieutenant Tully?
No, that was misinterpreted.
Okay, so if he got that, if that's in his report, that's incorrect.
It's not accurate, correct?
Okay.
Here we go.
Is there anything else that you read in that report that's not accurate?
You asked me to read the highlighted version. That's what I read. I didn't see any. I didn't read any other part of the document.
Let me have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
You indicated, still staying on at the crime scene on January 29th, you indicated on direct examination that the area adjacent to the blood stains that you saw and the drinking glass that you found, that area was somewhat trampled by, you presume, the first responders, the EMTs.
That's correct.
You also indicated that you didn't see any other signs of shoe prints going from the street to the house, correct?
From the scene to the house, correct?
From the scene to the house.
Correct.
Meaning, what do you mean when you say that, from the scene to the house?
So the house, you have the house, and the scene was to the far left, actually on the property line with number 32. So I didn't see any footprints. The only other footprints I saw was where the officers walked around and put up the crime scene tape.
Meaning walking through the yard
Correct.
and putting up crime scene tape.
Correct.
All right. And if somebody had, how many of those sets of prints did you see?
I don't recall.
Did you photograph or seek to have anybody else photograph the area from the scene to the house?
No.
Just those long shots that you saw in the exhibits.
Okay. And the snow was actively falling at the time, correct?
Yes.
So if there had been a print
It
a
didn't
couple of
look.
hours earlier, you very well might not see
It
it.
didn't
That
look
is
like
correct.
it was still falling, or whatever. It's only 3 inches down. How to fucking do your
I'd
goddamn
like to
job.
ask you a couple of questions about the collection of the blood. You found what you thought was
Here we
blood
go.
initially, right?
That's correct.
Pink in color, reddish in color.
Correct.
And you began the process of removing layers of snow, in other words, dusting the area with a leaf blower.
That's correct.
Had you ever used a leaf blower in a crime scene preservation effort?
First time.
First time. And you indicated your testimony was temporary evidence containers to collect that blood, correct?
Yep. We utilized cups, plastic cups.
Those were red Solo cups, right?
That's correct.
The same kind of red Solo cup you drink beer out of at a barbecue?
Yeah, sure. You could.
Objection, Your Honor. Strike.
I'll allow it.
There's nothing special about the red Solo cup?
Other than their plastic, nothing special.
And where did you get those red Solo cups?
We got them from Lieutenant Kelleher.
So in other words, you got the, to use your word, the evidence container.
Okay, wait. Now you're saying Lieutenant Keller or whatever the fuck their damn name is. Anyways, but another person says that you got them from a neighbor.
Containers from a neighbor.
Correct.
Ah,
He had some Solo cups.
see, a neighbor.
In his house.
Now, we asked him if he had any plastic containers, any type of plastic container.
Why are you guys asking the neighbor for red Solo cups or plastic containers? You know that's not sterile, dude. Sir.
That we could utilize.
How far were you from Canton PD? From 34 Fairview to Canton PD? Give me an idea.
Mile and a half.
So even in really bad weather, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, is that right, to drive?
Sure.
You didn't go back to Canton PD to get actual evidence containers, correct?
Why
We
not?
wouldn't have temporary plastic containers that what we were looking for. We're looking to take samples of snow. We wouldn't have I know for a fact we did not have those. If we needed bags, needle containers.
Why not? Why not? Every police station should have that shit. You actually should have a evidence preservation kit in your fucking cars. This is like the worst dumb bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
Things of that nature, we're all set. But as far as plastic containers that we wanted to utilize, we didn't have them.
Do you have any glass containers?
No.
So Canton PD does not have or utilize evidence collection containers that are plastic?
We have needle containers that are plastic. We have blood swabs that are in plastic containers. But for what we wanted to take a sample, we did not have. So we improvised.
My next question is, certainly Canton PD employs and owns sterile swabs.
Correct.
Sterile swab is in a container that's long, and usually the swab is connected to the lid, pop it out, and then it's sealed.
That's correct.
And forensically stable, correct?
Yes.
And the reason that it's sealed and forensically stable is so nothing can contaminate the sample, correct?
Sure. Yes.
But just as importantly, the blood sample can't contaminate anything else.
Correct.
Did you go to Canton PD a mile away and get sterile swabs for the blood collection?
Nope.
Blood was frozen. We didn't think it would be viable.
You didn't think it would be viable?
Correct.
If you touched the swab,
Then why the
to
fuck
cold
did
blood,
you collect it?
think you might get some blood on that swab?
I wasn't sure it would be efficient for testing.
So what you did instead was you gathered red Solo cups from the neighbor.
I would have done the swab
unsterilized,
instead. The
and
swab would have
scooped up
been
the
more
snow
better.
with what you thought the blood was, and just carried them back to the truck?
Nope. We took 6 samples, individual samples. Our philosophy was we'll let the crime lab extract it the way they best see fit. Those 6 samples were bagged and then transported back to Canton Police Headquarters and placed into evidence.
Were they covered?
No lid.
No, not that I recall.
They weren't sealed in any way?
No.
So if somebody sneezed over the top of one of those cups?
They were sealed in a bag, brown evidence bag. At that time, nobody was going to sneeze over the cup.
How do you know? How do you know?
You have a rough estimate of how many people
Because the
handled
bag wasn't even
those red
closed.
Solo cups before they were used to collect blood evidence in this homicide case?
You want me to estimate?
Give me an idea.
Sure. Sergeant Lank.
No, I'm sorry. My question was a bad one. Before you took possession of the red Solo cups, do you have any idea how many people before you had handled those Solo cups?
I took them out of a package, so probably none.
How about before they were packaged?
I assume Solo doesn't sell contaminated cups. I would say none.
So they're certainly not forensically stable. They're not sterile.
I don't know what definition you're looking for, but I would agree.
Do you think it's standard practice for a police department to borrow red Solo cups from a neighbor to gather evidence?
Objection.
You can go ahead and answer that, Lieutenant.
Of course not. Nothing about the scene was standard.
Right.
And why not? Because you guys are
The glass shard.
lame.
I'll touch on the Solo cups in just a second, but I want to talk about the glass shard of the drinking glass. Were you the one that found the drinking glass?
I was operating the leaf blower and uncovered the glass, yes.
So you were the first one. Well, I guess you couldn't tell me if you're the
I was
first one, but you
operating
noticed it
the
pretty
leaf
quick.
blower.
I wouldn't say it was quick, but we uncovered it.
Okay. And then there is you mentioned a CARS report in your direct examination. There was a report done of where some of these items were found, correct?
You'll have to clarify. I'm not sure what you mean.
Did you mention a CARS report, which is a report of the crime scene, where things were located, mapping of those things?
You objected. It was sustained. I never got the answer to that question.
Whoa!
Touche. Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Thank you.
Wow, you're paying attention to the freaking questions, but you weren't paying attention to the God damn.
I don't recognize it. I could tell you what it is.
That's okay. If you don't recognize it, that's all I need. Your Honor, may I?
Yes.
Thank you. Are you familiar generally, I don't necessarily need to talk about this one, but are you familiar generally with KARS reports?
Not at all.
Not at all. That's not sort of in your framework?
Not in my realm.
Okay. Are you aware that there is a process by which items of evidence are mapped, or they attempt to be mapped for a crime scene?
I'm not, I don't do homicide investigations. I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
Then why were you there?
Again, with regard to where the blood drops were found, let me go back to one other question I had. You said you took 6 samples, correct?
That's correct.
Did you precisely indicate in any report or note or diagram exactly which blood drops were in which solo cup?
I did not.
Okay.
How much longer do I gotta take, dude?
As you were using that snowblower and you uncovered the glass cup and more of the blood samples, at any point, did you see a size 12 men's shoe black in color?
No.
Nope.
At any point, did you see a man's baseball hat black in color?
Nope.
No.
You actually dug out a portion of you didn't dig it out, you moved it with your foot, or somebody did, a portion of the berm or the curb that separates the street from the yard, correct?
That is correct.
At any point along that curb line, did you see a men's shoe?
Along the exposed curb line, no.
Did you see it anywhere else?
No.
And you didn't see a hat anywhere else?
No.
You didn't see any bright red taillight material anywhere else?
I did not.
You did not see any clear taillight material?
I did not.
You did not see any black plastic material? No. You certainly didn't see 45 pieces of plastic material?
I did not.
If you had found a broken glass, if you find a broken glass on somebody's yard in a situation like this, did that seem out of place to you?
They were coming from a bar. It didn't seem totally out of place, no.
At the time that you found the broken glass, would you rationally think, well, maybe the rest of this glass is inside the residence?
No.
You did not think that?
No, there was a reason that I didn't think that.
Did you think that, well, let me ask you this. Did you ever go inside the house to search for the other part of the glass?
Absolutely not.
Because you made up your mind initially where that glass came from.
Objection.
You can answer that, sir.
No.
Did you search the house for any other matching glasses?
No.
Matter of fact, you didn't search the house for any physical items, did you?
Of course not.
Is that because that house belonged to a Boston police officer?
No, it's because it requires probable cause, as you know, which we did not have.
Or at least you didn't think you had at that time?
We knew we didn't have it.
Did you seek it from a judge?
I'm familiar with what probable cause is.
Did you seek a probable cause warrant from a judge?
No, I did not.
Right.
Do you know what probable cause is? What's probable cause to you? Probable cause is there's a dead man laying on somebody's front lawn. You check the fucking homeowners, or you go to a judge to get a warrant.
Did you ask for consent to search the house?
We wouldn't do consent, and that's in a death investigation.
Yeah, that was my question. My question
No,
was,
I did not.
Okay. Is that because you were at the house of a Boston police officer?
No, it's because we wouldn't do it. Because if consent is denied, we still don't have probable cause, and we still couldn't search the house.
But you never asked, did you?
Never asked.
Dirty. And he says that
According
smiling.
to your interview
It's
with
like, oh yeah, no. So I'm gonna, if I ever find a dead person on my lawn, I'm gonna tell the cops, well, you don't got probable cause, even though there's a dead man on my lawn. You know how far that would fly? Man, they would be in my panty drawer, my I don't know what else they would look at. So I don't have many secrets. So the only thing they would be like my panty drawer and my bra drawer. That's about it. Shit.
Lieutenant Tully, after going to the scene the first time, you then returned back to Canton Police Department, correct?
Yes,
At that point, you remember having a conversation with Chief Berkowitz, correct?
that is correct.
And you indicated that having that conversation with Chief Berkowitz, that was about Canton Police Department recusing themselves.
Not doing any further investigative interviews, yes.
And you indicated actually in that conversation that you agreed with Chief Berkowitz that Canton should be recused, correct?
He agreed with me.
Your assessment that the recusal should take place?
Yes, it was.
And he agreed?
That is correct.
Okay. And the reason for that recusal was because of the relationship between the Albert family and the Canton Police Department?
No.
What was the reason for the recusal?
The reason was we had a Boston police officer on another Boston police officer's lawn or property, and that property owner was the brother of somebody in our investigative unit.
Yeah, he just said that to you. See, you didn't need to like explain it further. Like you're so scared. Like, dude, yes, because the family is.
That's one way to put it. Another way to put it would be because of the Albert family having a relationship with the Canton Police Department.
It has to do with Detective Albert having a relationship with his family.
Right. Or the other side of that is his family having a relationship with Canton Police Department.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained. Go ahead. Move on, please.
What time was that conversation with Chief Berkowitz?
It was after 8 a.m. when we got back to the police department.
You then traveled back to 34 Fairview to interview the homeowners with Sergeant Lank?
Sergeant Lank was doing the interviews, yes, but I accompanied him.
Okay.
Of course, Sergeant Lank was, because he has
approximately what time did you arrive back at 34 Fairview to engage these interviews?
Approximately 9 o'clock.
Why would you conduct an interview? No, I got one.
Were you and Sergeant Lank well, let me ask this.
Conduct an interview with a person at their house, but you don't search it? And why would you conduct interviews with people together?
At that time, did you know whether Sergeant Lank had already gone into the home?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you knew that you were not the first person to go in and make contact with the individuals inside the home. That was Sergeant Lank.
Sergeant Lank and Sergeant Good, correct.
Before you ever got there?
Correct.
Okay. Did they show you any documentation, notes, or anything of that initial interview?
No.
Do you know whether or not they took notes of that initial interview?
I don't.
Do you know whether they recorded that initial interview?
I know they did not.
But I don't know what my Twitter's under.
You indicated that you personally knew Brian Albert. Is that right?
I knew him since I became a police officer, yes.
And so you indicated that you had a professional relationship with him, but not necessarily a personal relationship with him.
Correct.
Did you know that he was in the house before you walked in the house?
No, I did not.
But, you know, I have.
What was your personal your professional interaction with Brian Albert before you walked into that house that day?
Previously?
Correct.
So in general, as a detective, he was with the fugitive unit at one point. He was helpful when we had a fugitive we needed to apprehend in Boston.
So you had
things of that nature.
So you had a relationship with him. Yeah. What's so nefarious? You guys are cops. You had a relationship with him. Nobody's saying that you were buddy-buddy with him. They're just saying you had a relationship. Why are you trying to, like, see, I don't like this. I don't like
Did you ever, for lack of a better phrase, hung out with Brian Albert?
Not a day.
Never socialized with him?
No, not intentionally. It's possible if I went to a retirement party, could he have been present? Possibly, but not.
Oh, you mean like Lieutenant Berkowitz retirement party? You know, the one that would help Brian Higgins hide a body?
That I'm aware.
But you had no social relationship with him?
Zero.
You indicated that there were 5 or 6 people inside the house, including Brian Albert and Jennifer McCabe.
Yes, that is correct.
So you clearly knew those 2 people.
I didn't know Jen McCabe. I know that Sergeant Lake was going to speak with her, but I didn't know her personally. I never had a conversation with her.
And why was Brian Albert over at McCabe's too?
As opposed to the other 4 or 5 people that were in the house.
Sergeant Lake was talking to her.
You just remember that name?
That's who he went to talk to.
Got it. So he went back specifically with the intent of talking to Jennifer McCabe.
That's correct.
That's when you accompanied.
That is correct.
Was that interview recorded?
No.
Did you take any notes about that interview?
Why wasn't it recorded? See, I don't like
I did not.
You said that there were, other than Brian Albert and Jennifer McCabe, there were 3 or 4 other people in the house. Yes. Were those 3 or 4 other people in the house at the time that John O'Keefe was found dead or dying on the lawn?
I don't have the answer to that.
Did you think that might have been an important thing to find out?
Again, I didn't think of that at that time, and I didn't think it was important at that time. I knew that Sergeant Lank had already interviewed people in the house.
You had what you knew at that time, Lieutenant, was you had an officer, a Boston police officer, who was either dead or dying on the front lawn of a house with a bunch of occupants, and you didn't think that it was necessary to investigate or interview those occupants yourself?
No, I did not. At that time, I wanted to not participate in investigative interviews.
You did tell.
What do you
I'm
do,
sorry,
sir?
Lieutenant Tully, in your interview with him.
That's what I would
You
ask.
volunteered
I
that.
would have been like, "Oh, you don't investigate. You don't do homicides. You don't do this. You don't. What do you do, sir? What do you do? Oh, you supervise all the freaking people on patrol? Is that what you do? Because you're worthless at being a detective."
Brian Higgins was not present when you went back to the house, correct?
I didn't believe he was.
What, you didn't believe he was?
No, I don't recall Brian Higgins being there.
Okay.
I don't recall who the other people were at that time.
But Brian Higgins was not one of them.
I don't know the answer to that. He could have been. I can't say with certainty.
You know Brian Higgins?
I do.
Obviously, you know him well.
I do.
In fact, you occupy sort of the same space at Kenton PD, correct?
That is correct.
You might see him most days out of the week.
No, but I know him.
Okay. In fact, you've got a social relationship with Brian Higgins as well.
I have been social with Brian Higgins, yes.
So you know him professionally and socially.
Brian
You can't tell the jurors whether or not he was in that home when you went back over there to interview individuals about a Boston police officer who had fallen and was either dead or dying on the front lawn.
Objection.
Go ahead and answer that, sir.
I can't answer that question. I had no conversation with Brian Higgins, so I don't recall.
You do know that on January 29th, well, let me ask you this. Foundationally, did you go back after that series of unrecorded interviews? Did you go back to Kenton Police Department?
I love
For the
how
rest
when
of the day?
you're
Yes.
talking about 22.
Brian Higgins was also at the
catch
station for
22. What
nearly
the
the
fuck
entire
do
day.
you do?
Again,
Why do
I
you look
don't
over
recall
at the fucking? Why do you look at the jury? Oh, do you believe me?
You aware that Brian
Believe
Higgins
me?
had been granted a key
Weird.
card for the station?
Yes.
I'm guessing that is a relatively rare thing if you're not a Canton police officer to have a key card and full access to the station.
There were a couple of ATF agents that had that access, yes.
Okay, but he was one of them.
He was one of them, yes.
Is that access restricted, Lieutenant? In other words, does his key card work the same as your key card?
I don't know the answer to that.
He would have, to your knowledge, he roamed throughout the station at will, correct?
I don't know how he roamed. He's a very private person. You very rarely see him. Usually his
don't.
habits where he'd go up
See,
a
there
front
you go. See,
stairwell right
there
to
you
his
go,
office.
talking to the jury again.
But
You
his
know
access,
what's up.
I guess I'm struggling with the question. His access was not limited to your knowledge.
I don't know the answer to that. I can't answer that to my knowledge.
He could go into any door he wanted to.
I would doubt it.
You would doubt that it would be limited.
I would doubt he'd have unlimited access. The patrolmen don't have full access. It all depends by your grade. Where he's an
Why
outside
do you
agency, I'm sure he had
put
limited
over there?
access.
Who has access to the sound door?
The doors, only whoever's in the dispatch area, the overhead doors. There is one pedestrian door that everybody would have access to.
So he would have access to that as well.
Yes.
Where is Chief Berkowitz's office in relation to the rest of Canton PD, the physical building?
The best way to describe it, I don't know if the jury is familiar with the building, but if you were looking from Washington Street dead on, it's the top floor, far left office.
And is that, I don't know this, I'm not being, it's not rhetorical. Is it 3 floors or 2 floors?
So it's really 3 floors, but it's numbered 1, 1A, and 2.
So he would be on 2, 3 physical floors up.
Correct.
Thank you. When you had the meeting that you earlier described with Chief Berkowitz, where you indicated that PD needed to recuse himself, was that in his office or someplace else?
That was in the office of the detective sergeant.
Which is where?
It's on floor 1A.
All right, we're going to take a 5-10 minute break.
Oh, Lord. Make sure you're done.
Thank you. Goes back in session. May be seated.
Okay, whenever you're ready, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. You had started to tell us who at the scene, who handled those solo cuts. Can you describe that for us, please?
I handled them to the scene. Sergeant Lang collected the samples.
Oh, okay.
Under your supervision?
Yes.
Did anybody other than Sergeant Lang handle those solo cuts?
No.
So once they were in his possession, They remained in his possession until they were booked into evidence?
They were bagged, placed in Sergeant Lang's vehicle. He transported them to Camp Police Headquarters, transported it into the
I'll be in the
office,
chat.
and logged them in as evidence.
I
Yes,
gotta go.
Did you watch all that happen?
I did not.
You did not. So you're presuming those next steps after he was out of your view?
I know that because he told me so.
Well, that's hearsay. Move to strike, Your Honor.
All right, I'll strike the end of that.
Thank you. Not what he told you, what you observed.
I did not observe him place it in evidence, yes.
At what point did you lose sight of those solo cups?
When I got in my vehicle to leave the scene.
So once the solo cups were in his, you saw them go in the brown paper bag,
That's correct.
the evidence bag. Then you saw him go in the truck.
That's correct.
And at that point, you don't have any personal information about what happened to those solo cups. Personal observations.
Until I removed them from temporary evidence, I have no recollection. Correct.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about once you were inside the home. You've already indicated that you did not seek a search warrant. You did not seek consent to search the home, correct?
That's correct.
Did you look around the house for any sign of a struggle or a fight?
No.
Did you go to the basement at all?
No.
Had you ever been in the house before that morning at 9 a.m.?
Never.
Sorry?
Never.
Okay. Did you go to the backyard?
No.
Did you personally observe whether or not that house has a bulkhead door that services the basement?
I have no idea.
Did you photograph any portion of the house?
The front of the house.
Sorry, bad question. Good point. Inside the house, did you photograph any part of the house?
No.
Did you have a cell phone with you?
Yes.
Has a camera on it?
Yes.
So you could have photographed it, you chose not to.
I would have needed permission or a warrant.
And you got neither.
That's correct.
You sought neither.
That's correct.
Did you photograph any of the individuals in the home for instance, for injuries or anything like that?
No.
Did you or Sergeant Lank separate the witnesses before they were interviewed?
There was only one witness he was interviewing,
Who was that?
Jen McCabe.
Where was everybody else in the house?
I believe they were all in the same area, the kitchen. I believe it was the kitchen.
Those individuals were not taken to a different part of the house?
Not that I'm aware, no.
They were allowed to communicate with and among one another?
Sure, yes.
And I think you already answered this, but I'm going to ask it just to make sure I'm clear. None of that interview of Jen McCabe was not recorded in any way? Audio or video recorded?
Correct.
How long were you inside the house for that interview?
10 minutes, maybe.
Other than Jim McCabe being interviewed, were any of the other witnesses inside that house asked any questions by Sergeant Lank or by you?
No, not that I believe so. Not that I recall.
Were you the person on February 1st who gave access to the Massachusetts State Police to the Sally Port?
I was probably one of them. The Sally Port doors can only be opened by dispatch.
Did you approve or authorize those doors to be opened for purposes of MSP coming in, Massachusetts State Police coming in and processing that vehicle?
I don't know if I specifically did it at that point, but I certainly would, yes.
You knew that the vehicle had been in that Sally Port since January 29th in the afternoon, correct?
I don't believe what point I knew it was in the Sally Port, but I did know it was there for days before, yes.
Okay. And if it had been there from January 29th to February 1st, that's 3 full days.
That's correct.
From the time that SUV arrived and was situated in the Sally Port, how many people had access to that truck, that SUV?
How many people had access or access to the Sally Port, or is that one? Are you asking one
One
of
and the
the?
same.
I would say the entire department.
Dozens?
Yes, correct.
Hundreds?
No, we're very small.
I don't know that.
So we're probably 45.
45. And just about every one of those 45 people would have access to that Sally Port and that SUV had they wanted to.
Had they wanted to, yes.
And that 45 doesn't include Brian Higgins.
It probably does, but he would have access as well.
Thank you. Those same individuals that would have access to the SUV inside the Sally Port, very obviously, would also have access to anything else that had been placed in the Sally Port along with the SUV, correct?
That is correct.
Did you photograph or cause to be photographed that SUV immediately upon its arrival into the Sally Port on January 29th?
I wasn't working, no.
Did anybody, to your knowledge, seek to photograph the condition of that vehicle immediately when it arrived at the Sally Port?
I wasn't there, I can't say.
You've certainly never seen any photographs from January 29th immediately when that SUV was brought into the Sally Port, right?
Other than our evidence, I haven't seen any evidence in this case.
You indicated that Massachusetts State Police was having some difficulty removing the light. We saw a short snippet of the video, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Who made the decision to even remove the taillight? Was that Canton PD or was it Massachusetts State Police?
That would have been somebody within the state police.
Okay. And then you contacted Officer Wanless to actually facilitate the removal of that light, right?
I contacted dispatch to ask Officer Wanless to return.
And you knew at the time that Officer Wanless was a sworn Canton police officer.
That's correct.
But Lieutenant Gallagher, you told us just a few minutes ago that you and the chief, actually you and the chief agreed that the Canton Police Department was completely recused from this case in the investigation based on a conflict of interest, correct?
No, you're spinning it. What I said was from participating in investigative interviews.
So they could take part, Canton Police Department could take part in any other part of the investigation, according to you, with the exception of investigative interviews?
We can open doors. We can facilitate things. Yes.
Remove taillights?
There's nothing. No. Yeah. If it's an assist, round peg, round hole, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. So in other words, Canton Police Department, notwithstanding the conflict of interest, was still allowed to participate in the investigation of the KARENREAD matter.
There was no conflict of interest. I said appearance of conflict of interest. So we have to be careful. I didn't believe there was a conflict. I honestly believe we could have investigated this case,
Well,
but it wasn't the appearance of such a conflict.
You also didn't believe that there was probable cause to search the house even.
I know that.
That answer will stand. It's stricken, and so is the question.
So Canton Police Department was, in fact, at your authority, given permission to manipulate that light in terms of pulling it out of the SUV, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Canton Police Department was allowed to facilitate the removal of that light.
Yes.
And during the course of the removal of that light, that taillight was broken, correct?
That's correct.
And shattered.
Yes.
Parts of it that were falling onto the ground.
I don't think there was anything falling on the ground at that point.
So now we do have evidence that that taillight, in some way, shape, form, or fashion, was broken or broken more once it was inside the Sallyport in Canton PD's custody.
You're gonna have to rephrase that. I don't understand the broken more part.
During the removal process, that light was broken even more.
No.
Can I approach you?
Yes.
Just take a look at that photograph and tell me if you recognize it.
I don't recognize the photographs. First time I've seen it.
Do you recognize what's depicted in the photograph?
It's a broken taillight.
Does that appear to be the taillight that was removed during the process that we saw on the video just a few minutes ago under direct examination?
I can only assume it is. I've never examined the light.
So you can't assume. So can you answer the question, Lieutenant?
No.
You don't recognize it?
No.
Okay. And were you, I didn't see you on the video, but it was a very dark video. Were you there?
Yes, I'm in the gray shirt.
Okay. Were you there as Officer Wanless was actually removing the taillight from the vehicle?
Not sure. I'd have to watch the video again.
Okay. Do you recall if pieces and parts were being broken off and shattered while he was removing it?
Not at all.
May I approach?
Yes.
Were you the person who actually recovered? I think you did answer this. You were not the person who knelt down and actually recovered the blood droplets.
Correct.
That was Sergeant Lyon.
That's correct.
When you gave the, sorry, let me rephrase that. Was it you or Sergeant Lank that put the solo cups into the evidence bag?
Sergeant Lank.
Was that in your presence? Yes. Okay. How long before, after he put the solo cups in the evidence bag, did he put the evidence bag in his truck?
Seconds, less than a minute.
And then how long did the truck sit there until he left or you left and you were no longer able to observe it?
He left immediately.
You were at the location on, the location of the Sallyport on February 3rd. You've already testified to that, correct?
No, I testified February 1st.
I'm sorry, my mistake, February 1st. You also indicated that at your direction that Sergeant Lank booked the solo cups into the evidence locker.
That's procedure, yes.
Right. I understand it's procedure. I'm asking if he actually did it.
Yes.
Okay. Did you see a log of that?
Excuse me?
Did you see a log of that?
I saw the police report.
Which police report?
The original call.
Okay. And in that police report, he indicates that he took the solo cups back to Canton Police Department and booked them into evidence, right?
It was given a property number and assigned to temporary evidence.
And when something is given a property number, is there an officer working that property area to assign the property numbers?
No, the officer placing the property into evidence assigns the property number himself.
I see. So that officer would assign a property number and physically place that into temporary, what's it called again?
Temporary evidence until the evidence officer takes custody of it.
Okay. Did an evidence officer actually take custody of these items?
No, because it was being transferred to the state police, so it wasn't going into our permanent evidence locker.
So where did those cups sit for the 3 days between January 29th and February 1st?
In a refrigeration unit in temporary evidence.
And is there a log to sign in and sign out to make sure that the chain of custody of items like this are maintained?
The evidence officer keeps that log, yes.
Is there any log, Lieutenant Gallagher, of these items being booked?
No,
into the temporary
because they
evidence
never
log?
made it in
There
evidence.
should be, but I don't know for a fact, but there should be, yes.
I agree there should be. I'm asking you if there is.
I don't know the answer to that.
The fact of the matter is there is no log or document or report ever showing that these items were ever booked into the temporary evidence locker at
No.
PD. Isn't that right?
I don't believe that's accurate.
Do you have that evidence log?
I don't. I don't
Where
have
is
access to the evidence log.
Did you get access to the evidence log?
No.
You're a supervisor at Kent PD.
That's
Why would
correct.
you not have access to the evidence log?
I think only 2 or 3 people
Because
have
he
access
didn't
to
do
evidence.
investigations.
The evidence officer,
Which is,
Paul DiGiapietro, Sergeant,
can you spell that for us, please?
DIGIAMPIETRO.
Who else?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm assuming the chief of police,
Chief Berkowitz, I would assume?
most likely.
Deputy
But I
Chief?
don't know. Possibly, yes.
Head of detectives?
No,
Any other lieutenants or supervisors?
I don't believe so. I know I don't have access as a lieutenant.
If there's no evidence log of an item being booked into evidence, that's a pretty good indicator that it actually never made it into the evidence log, evidence locker, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
That would be to me.
We do know that wherever it went, the blood items went back to, and the glass went back to Canton PD, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
May I approach briefly?
Yes.
Thank you. Lieutenant, I'm going to ask you kindly to take a look at those 4 photographs, and then once you've had a chance to review them, just look up at me. And I'll ask you a couple.
Did you see them?
I don't know what was just handed to the witness.
Why don't you go take them from the witness? Take a look.
There's copies right there as well.
Thank you.
Stop it.
May I approach briefly?
Yes.
Sure.
I'm sure there's 4 or 5.
Okay.
Take your time.
I'm all set.
Do you recognize those photos, or what's depicted in those photos?
Yes.
Do you recognize the time frame those photos would have been taken
Yes.
based on context?
Yes.
February 1st, correct?
I have no idea if it was February 1st, but it would be between the 29th of January and February 1st.
Fair enough. Your Honor, may I publish?
Okay. Do they have they been introduced?
They have not yet been introduced, Your Honor. I'm sorry, protocol-wise, I missed that step. I need to ask that these be marked as next in order.
Okay. Is there
Photographs?
any objection?
Stop. Stop.
I might be able to use this.
Lights, camera, action.
Thank you. Taking a look at what's been.
Hold on. They're still being mocked, and the court reporter has to record everything you say.
Mocked.
Thank you.
Okay.
And with the court's permission, Lieutenant, I'm going to try to go in the same order, so you might want to glance at this photograph, make it better visual for you. I'd like to ask you if you recognize what's depicted in this photograph, especially the area right down here on the right, bottom right. You see that white rag?
I do.
Lieutenant, if you take a close look at that rag, I'm going to ask you to identify it on the photograph. Do you see a couple of little dark marks on what appear to be that?
I see it on that screen.
Better visual up there. Okay, fair enough. What's the position of that rag as it relates to the vehicle in the photograph?
It's the rear passenger side.
Right rear quarter panel, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And is that, in fact, the SUV in question?
I believe it is.
Okay. The SUV that belonged to Miss Reed?
I believe it is. Yes.
Okay. Let's take a look at the, excuse me. It's 37.
37. Okay.
Is this 37? Not for the record, we were just speaking about item 37.
Okay.
Let's move to
Oh, my hair.
looking at 38. Does that appear to be the same rag in the photograph?
Yes.
It does,
Right,
yes.
right next
You
to
see a
the
shadow
Stop and Shop
something
bag
on the
with
top
blood
of
on
the
it, and
photograph?
it's got fucking shit on it.
I do.
Given what you just said about evidence item 37, does that appear to be the shadow of the right rear quarter panel of the truck?
I would guess it's the tailgate.
So you can't guess.
I would say it was the tailgate. The tailgate's up, maybe the tailgate's up at this point.
You see a bag in the middle of the photograph.
Yes.
Can you read what's on that bag?
Stop and Shop.
Okay. It does not look like an evidence bag, does it, sir?
No.
Matter of fact, it looks like a grocery bag.
Correct.
All right?
Yes.
So not a forensically stable item, correct?
Correct.
Certainly not sterile.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
You know where that bag came from?
I do not.
What's on top?
Was that a bag that you supplied to Sergeant Lang?
I do not know. Do not recall.
Lang got the Stop and Shop bag.
I do not know.
Next photograph, please.
39.
Taking a look at what's been marked as evidence item 39, you recognize what's in the middle of the photograph.
Yes.
What is that?
Those are the plastic cups with the coagulated blood.
You see on the top of the photograph, same
It's
rag?
diluted now.
Same markings.
Yes.
That appear that those unsealed cups with liquid blood in them
Diluted
are
now.
situated right near the right
Don't
rear
even look
quarter panel of the
cold.
SUV. In this photograph?
They are to the rear of the vehicle. Yes.
And next item, please. And this appears to be evidence item 40. You see the same white rag,
Yes.
and you see the same evidence bag, Stop and Shop bag, correct?
Correct.
And it's filled with 6 solo cups
Correct.
with what appears to be liquid blood.
Correct.
Does that photograph appear to be taken at or about the same place near the right rear quarter panel of the SUV?
It's actually, I would say that the mat is the mat to the entrance to the booking area. So that is probably a couple of feet behind the vehicle.
Okay. Let's go back to evidence item number 37. The first photograph. You see the rag in that photograph?
Yes, I do.
Let's go to the next item. Now you see the map, and it's, I should note this for the record, that we're now looking at 38. You see the mat and the rag in this photograph?
I do.
And you see a tire on that map?
Yes.
That's a golf cart of some sort that belongs to the Canton Police Department?
It's a Kubota. Yes.
A Kubota, thank you. Looks like the rag is in the same spot?
Yes.
All right. So the blood inside the Stop and Shop bag is sitting right next to the right rear quarter panel of that truck, correct?
You can see the rear tire. It's probably at least 3 feet from the rear. If you look at the top, I can use the marker here. This appears to me to be the rear tire, which would put this a couple of feet behind the vehicle.
Understood.
So were you trying to rub his DNA on it?
Would you agree that having unsealed and unsecured blood next to the right rear portion of the SUV is a recipe for cross-contamination?
You want me to speak to, if I could speak to this incident alone?
That's a yes or no question. Do you think
Okay,
that's
it's not yes or no, but for your purposes, I would say yes.
and in fact, could even be worse, for instance, not just inadvertent cross-contamination. If somebody wanted to touch something on that bag, on those cups, and then touch the vehicle, they could easily do that with that juxtaposition of the open blood next to the back of the rear of the car.
Objection. Sustained.
They could, but that's speculation.
Lieutenant, if somebody was so inclined, that situation could provide an opportunity for evidence tampering, couldn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
It could. It could.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
I have nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
Mr. Lally?
Just briefly, Your Honor.
We know you're not briefly. Oh, actually, you're going to be briefly.
Now, Lieutenant, if I could ask you a phrase that was posed to you a couple times during cross-examination as far as recusal of your department. How would you define that term in this specific sense?
In this specific case?
Yes.
We did not want to go on any investigative interviews because one of our best investigators, his name is Kevin Albert. He's the property owner's brother, and we didn't think it would be appropriate if we were on those interviews questioning his family members.
But you still did. But you still did.
Now, with regard to death investigations, specifically unattended death investigations, what, if any, role does your department typically have when it comes to those? What, if any, jurisdiction does your department have versus the state police?
The state police takes jurisdiction. They run the investigation. We assist them in any way we can. We try to help out.
Now, sir, you were asked some questions in regard to, or you indicated that in regard to the drinking glass that you located in the area where Mr. O'Keefe's body was, that it didn't come from the house. Why is that?
I think I said, I believe we didn't think it came from the house at that time because they were out at the Waterfall Bar and Grill the night before. And the initial statements from Detective Sergeant Lank and Sergeant Good obtained, nobody put John O'Keefe anywhere but where he was found, and that included his girlfriend.
Now,
they didn't touch it, but they left it to where, like, okay, it wasn't in a secure place. It was behind her vehicle. It wasn't in a refrigerated spot. It wasn't in correct storage containers. And because the person that he died on the lawn was a cop too, so they're trying to protect their own. They don't care about the dead. They only care about the living cops. So, and this whole case reeks of we're trying to cover for our own. Because they're trying to say that she ran him over with her car 22 miles an hour in the quote unquote, they're saying a blizzard, but it wasn't a blizzard. It was barely starting to snow. And there was no tire tread, no nothing, no, going that fast and stopping. There would have been skid marks. She would have ended up, halfway in the lawn, halfway in their house, certain stuff like that. But, and going that fast, and he only, his head, he had two black eyes, a scrape right, or a laceration right here, a laceration right over here. He had markings that looked like a dog had bit him, and the back of his head, he had a gash. Looked like he was in a fight and a dog bit him. That's just, I'm gonna be honest. That's exactly what it looks like. And because the house owner is a cop too, they're doing anything and everything. The lead investigator in this case was fired for his role in what he was trying to cover up. He made inappropriate text messages about her to non-cop friends, and during the investigation, he showed his bias towards her, and it wasn't because he was upset because he was another cop too. No, he was upset because he knew he was putting his fucking job on the line. But would they do it for him? No, you bet your ass. They would only, the circle of trust, their family. And so they had to, so his police department had to recuse themselves because the cop house owner also had a cop brother that worked for them. but they're all in it.
Take a step back just to the state police jurisdiction over unintended deaths. What, if any, assets the state police have as far as investigative assets than your department does?
They have far superior tools to investigate. They have direct access to the crime lab. They have a CARS team that can do accident reconstruction.
Now, with regard to the criminal list and turning your attention to February 1st of 2022, when you're in the salary pool, you mentioned that Officer Wanless came in with a toolkit to assist in removing the taillight, correct?
That's correct.
And is it your understanding, essentially, he just removed a clip from the back of the taillight in order to take it out of the vehicle?
I believe you can see our video. It just pops into the criminalist's hands.
And as far as your review of that video, your observations that day, there was nothing about the taillight that was broken during that removal process, correct?
Correct.
You
now, as
said
far
it
as
was.
cross-contamination, you were asked about, you indicated it was not a yes or no answer, but what, if anything else, would you have that?
What counsel was depicting was the transfer of custody over to the state police. So the criminologist was handling it at that time. The photographer was photoing it. The criminologist was transferring the blood into their plastic containers. And that's why I'm sure it was being handled by a criminologist. There wasn't going to be any cross-contamination. I wasn't concerned about cross-contamination.
So that was a scenario that you were describing earlier in your direct examination, as far as you're turning those items physically over to the criminalist on February 1st.
You could still done it.
And they are converting them to their
If there's no video, there's nothing.
Thank you, sir. Nothing further.
Okay.
Very briefly, you said that no one but John O'Keefe, none of the witnesses put John O'Keefe anywhere but where he was found. That's what you just said, correct?
That's correct.
So your investigative technique is just to ask a witness, how'd that dead body get there? And if they say, I have no idea, your job's just done, right?
Objection.
Sustained.
If a witness says, we found him here, you just take the witness at their word?
Objection.
You can go ahead and answer that, sir.
No, of course not.
You might want to investigate a little further, right?
Absolutely.
And ask them questions.
That is correct.
Get search warrants.
That's
Look
when
in the
there's
house.
probable cause, we do. Absolutely.
You
None
had
of that was done
probable
here.
cause. There
No
was a
probable
dead
cause.
body on there.
Thanks, that's all I have.
You are all set, Lieutenant.
Thank you.
Okay.
All of you
Who
should
is your
lose
next
your
witness,
job.
Mr. Mel?
Your Honor, the Commonwealth call Sergeant Sean Good to the
All of
stand.
Okay, and while the sergeant's coming in, I'll see counsel about scheduling.
God, you're making me mad. Okay, let's speed this dude up because I don't care about his fucking background. We know he knows Jennifer McCabe,
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Mel.
sister-in-law of the cop,
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
not the one
Well,
that's
please state your
dead, the
name
one
and,
that
spell
lives
your
in the
last name.
house.
It's Sean Good, Goode,
And how are you employed, sir?
at the Canton Police Department.
And how long have you been a member of the camp?
17 years.
You're a dude.
And what rank or assignment do you currently have with?
You're all dudes.
Midnight sergeant and 2 days patrol traffic.
Now, how long have you held the rank of sergeant with Camp Police?
Coming up on 3 years.
Now, with reference to your rank and assignment as a sergeant with sort of the overnight shift, when does that shift run from?
So it's midnight to 8. The oncoming sergeant usually comes in around 11 o'clock at night.
And in general terms, if you could describe to the jury, what sort of are your duties and responsibilities as a sergeant on the overnight shift?
So I'm in charge of the patrolmen that are on, that work under me. There's 4 of us on the midnight, plus myself, so 5 total. 4 on the road, 1 inside. So
Turn your attention to the evening of January 28th, 2022 into the morning of January 29th, 2022. Were you working on that occasion?
yes, it was.
Similar capacity as you just described?
Yes.
And so the time as far as when you arrived at the Canton Police Station would be similar to what you just described before?
Yes.
Now, when you arrived, if you recall, who was sort of working with you or under you on that particular shift?
So that evening's midnight shift, it was myself, Officer Pasquarelli, Officer Mullaney, Officer Saraf, and Officer Dever.
And as far, in addition to, let me ask it this way. So when you're performing those duties in the Canton Police Station, where are you sort of physically situated within the Canton Police Station?
We're inside the dispatch room. That's where you handle all the calls, 911 calls, business lines, stuff like that. So anybody walks in the lobby, you're right there.
And so would that also be sort of part of your duties and responsibilities in regard to being the supervising sergeant for the shift?
That evening, yes, I was inside.
Now, with reference to 911 calls and dispatch, what, if any, training have you received in regard to those?
Everybody in the Camp Police Department, we do not have civilian dispatchers like other larger departments. So every officer that works patrol has to be certified on the PSTAP station, which is the 911 dispatch console. And then once you're certified, you're able to answer all 911 calls.
And what, generally speaking, does that certification process entail?
It's learning the software, learning how to know the difference between a cell phone and a landline, being able to look up when if a 911 call comes in on a cell phone. We have 3 different monitors, and you'll see that one of the monitors will be a map, and all of a sudden it'll just ping, and you'll see that cell phone. And a lot of the time, because of the location of the town of Canton, we do get state police 911 calls that are on the highway. So you have to be able to differentiate which call it is. Is it actually us, or is it state police? Is it Randolph? Stuff like that. So you have to be able to read them out. It's not very hard, but it's that.
Now, beyond that, now, when people are calling into 911, they're typically calling in regards to an emergency, correct?
Yes.
What, if any, training do you receive in that certification process in regards to sort of demeanor or how to handle people online?
Obviously, if someone's calling in an emergency, they're probably going to be nervous. You want to just try to stay calm as possible, try to relate to them, not make them any more upset than they already are, and try to get the first thing out of his location. Where are they?
Now, with respect to calls that come into 911, what, if any, difference as far as directing a call is there between something that's sort of a medical call versus a law enforcement police call? So any call that comes in through 911, we determine if it's police, fire, medical. If it's police, obviously, we would handle it. But if it's fire, medical, we send it to Holbrook, which is the regional dispatch for Canton Fire. So it's literally just click the button that says fire right on the screen. That call automatically gets connected to a regional dispatcher in Holbrook, who then determines what they need, whether it be ambulance, fire, stuff like that. Now, reference to this particular shift on this particular day, January 28th and 29th. At some point during your shift, what, if anything, did you observe about sort of weather outside?
When we came in, it was just very light flurries. There was nothing sticking to the ground, anything like that. We were all pretty prepared that we knew that there was a storm coming at some point during the night.
And through your work with the Canton Police Department, you're familiar with an individual by the name of Brian Higgins?
Yes.
And what, if any, relationship does he have with, what, if anything, does he do for work?
He works for the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. It's a federal agency.
And what, if any, relationship does he have with your department at Canton Police?
He has a satellite office in our department. He has his own scan card. He doesn't have to check in with myself or anybody. But he works out of our station.
And is he the only agent, federal agent with the ATF that has space or anything at your police station?
No, I believe there's actually could be U.S. Customs, two of them, other agents that are at work at the station as well.
Do they have sort of similar relationships as far as?
Yes, yeah, they have access to the police department. If Brian, Agent Higgins has worked on certain calls, helped us out, whether it be a firearm case, stuff like that.
Now, on that evening of 28th, and specifically the early morning of January 29th, what, if anything, do you recall as far as seeing Brian Higgins around Canton Police Station?
I remember at one point during the evening, he came in. I don't remember if he came into dispatch or if I just saw him on one of the numerous monitors we have in dispatch. I can't leave that room because I'm the only one in the building on midnight. So, but we never talked or anything like that. Didn't think anything of it. It's not uncommon.
And do you recall around what time that occurred?
I believe it was probably 1:30. Again, I wasn't looking at a clock to see.
Now, with respect to the parking lot area of the Canton Police Station, when it comes to any sort of substantial amount of snow, what, if anything, do you do with regard to the vehicles in the parking lot?
Oh my God! Yes, we know.
We try to move
snowing.
all the cars that we're not using. So would that be on a midnight shift? It's any of our unmarked detectives cars, any of the patrol vehicles that aren't being used. We try to help out the DPW, which is the Department of Public Works, as best as possible when they try to plow our station. Because if not, all it ends up being is just one trail through the parking lot, and it's kind of a nightmare. So with the help of the other patrolmen, if we can get all the keys, sometimes they're not easily located, we try to move the cars to the outer edge of the parking lot so that DPW can make a good pass, and then we'll move them back over.
With regard to the vehicles in the parking lot, beyond sort of personal vehicles and the marked units belonging to Canton Police, with regard to some of those other agents like Mr. Higgins that you talked about, what, if any, vehicles would they have within that parking area?
He had federal cars there that he used on cases, and I believe he had two. They'd be, I guess, his cruisers. They were Dodge pickups.
And then with regard to those vehicles in regard to snow removal, what, if anything, was typically done with regard to that?
They were parked to the outer edge, so we don't have access to them. At least I didn't have access to them.
Now, working that sort of 911 dispatch area desk, at some point, just before 5 a.m., what, if any, calls did you receive around that time?
I received a phone call from a woman generally asking if we had locked up or transported a male party that evening. It's not uncommon that people call and say, hey, did you lock up so-and-so, or did you stop anybody? She said some version of he was out with friends, he didn't come home tonight, and his girlfriend's worried about him.
At the time that you received that call, did you know who that person was on the other end?
No.
And fair to say at some point later, you had responded to Fairview Road, is that correct?
Yes.
And the person who was called just before 5 a.m., did you have occasion to speak with them when you were on scene on Fairview?
I did.
Who did you identify that first call to come in from?
First call was
Mary Roberts, is that
yes.
correct? Mayor Pro?
Yes.
So I'm showing you this. You recognize that?
Yes.
You recognize that too?
That would be the 911 call from our station.
And that would be specifically from Ms. Roberts, is that correct?
Yes.
Almost you can introduce the minutes.
No objection.
Be exhibit 35.
Your Honor, with court's permission, I would ask to publish that call to the jury at this point.
Okay. Hold on one second,
When they
please.
go to lunch, I'm going
What
to
number?
pause this. I'm going to stop this. And I'll try to do the rest.
Okay.
It's
All right,
only
thank
4
you.
hours
I
tomorrow.
thought that's what you
so-
said. All right.
We'll do the rest tomorrow because there's a motion hearing.
Go ahead.
So I will be doing the motion hearing in the morning, so.
Okay, please, sounds good. Hi, my name's Karen. I'm calling because my friend's boyfriend did not come home last night. We were at waterfall. And now she is calling me hysterical because she doesn't know where he is. You didn't take anybody outside the name of John O'Keefe, did you? John O'Keefe? Yeah, he's about to come and we'll be on point, so. No. I think he probably another guy and perhaps got it done house. I don't know, but. Yeah, no, we didn't want anybody else or anything like that. And where do you live? He lives on Meadow, downtown. He lives on Meadow, on Pleasant? Okay, and where? So like home, you said he grew up? With his girlfriend, yeah, they were out having drinks, and then she left. And it's like because he got home at some point and never did. Yeah. And so I said to her, my husband has been out with a brother and I said he wants to keep home. And he has custody with me and nephew from the parents' house. Okay. And so she knows with the weekend having a day off and has to be home. And then she's nervous because he never even home. Yeah. So she's like, I feel something happened. And I said, okay. Well, so probably your hospital, you'll be having after the day, probably take him out to the doctor. I don't know. Yeah, did he drive last night? No. No. Okay. I think, again, it's more, it would be driven by you. She would have to, call in a conversation and talk to us, but I mean, right now, it's more, he didn't get home last night, and see this comment, but not we'll have with him. No, that's why. That's what she did. He's telling me, that's kind of why she's more freaking out. So I think I called the hospital, I said, call campus police to make sure, even if they go on a different doctor, who's talking about it, that's people, if anybody could pick them up. Yeah. Family, and I was tired. Yeah, no. Unfortunately, I was there, I was stuck here. But I'm here, getting calls, anything like that. Nobody's arrested or anything like that. All right. All right, well, thank you. All right, no problem. Good luck. Thank you. Bye.
You need
I don't need to go to bed.
Now, Sergeant Good, what was played in there is that a fair and accurate portrayal of the 911 call that you had with Kelly Roberts around 5 a.m. Now, turning your attention to about an hour forward, approximately 6 a.m.
don't know why you
what, if any, other phone calls did you receive, bless you, in regard to the same sort of parts?
At 6:04 a.m. on the 911 dispatch console, I received a call from a woman at 34 Fairview.
Now, in those intervening sort of hours, so as you were stating on the 911 call, no one sort of physically came into the Canton police station and reported anything in regard to this, correct?
No.
And again, the party that you spoke to on the phone at approximately 6:04 a.m., did you know that person at that time?
No.
And again, you responded later on or shortly thereafter to Fairview and spoke with a number of different, correct?
Correct.
From those conversations on scene, you now know who placed that 911 call at approximately 6:04 a.m.
Yes.
And who is that person?
That'd be Miss McCabe.
And that would be Jennifer McCabe, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, with regard to, you talked about the weather when you first arrived to your ship.
It was snowing, we know.
Changed, between the weather when you arrived and around 6 a.m.
It was snowing heavily.
Now, you want me to approach again?
Yes.
What did you knock on the floor?
I don't even know this. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
In between the chairs?
That'd be the 911 call from Mrs. McCabe.
Almost you can introduce in a minute the next exhibit.
No objection.
Okay.
And Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would ask to publish Exhibit 36 to the jury now as well.
Okay.
Why don't you just wear basketball shorts?
Yes, I was trying to come to third floor, third floor, you know, kidnapped, sitting in, tapped out in the snow. You're getting pulled out, you're getting to snow. You gotta get to know, okay? Yeah, I don't like that. It's the house, you're at that line. I think she's like, you guys have her in the kitchen. Get that line, just again. Okay. Where's the market? I don't think like the parents. 911 emergency. I mean, immediately to start the and you know, can't do that. What do you want? There's a guy on the chocolate in the snow. In the snow? Yes, 34 the Albert resident. Yes, I just pulled up the market. You can't have it, yes. I'm not going to where's your emergency. Hello? Yes, I'm talking to 34. Yes, you wrote it, Ethan. 34 Fairview? Yes, it is. I mean, I'm talking in the snow. Okay. Okay. What's going on with you right now? We just got to over. Okay. And who's got in the background? Is that somebody? It's Rogan. Yeah, sorry. Okay, how old is he? John is 26 years old.
Stop it, kitty.
46, how old is he?
Banana, stop it. Banana, leave him alone. I don't know if he's present. There are two different times. It could just keep it.
Okay, can you just try asking? I know it's tough, but we have the other side of the building. Just give it.
Is breathing around? Okay, do they know how to do CPR? Do they want to test you? Yes, he's got CPR. No, he's not.
Oh, okay. They don't feel comfortable doing so?
No, I think he's passed away.
Okay. All right, if I come in the police coming all the way, if everyone's declining CPR, then I can't. I'll hang out with you, and if anything changes, you can give us a call back. Where are you guys upset?
I'm there. I know. I'm with the interviews. I know. So, Carrie, you gotta get off of me. Carrie, you gotta get off of him.
You know if there's any alcohol or drugs involved?
They're all crying. I mean, you're not supposed to show it. At a trial. The jury.
If I could ask you just to back that up about 10 or 15 seconds or so, once the siren outside comes out.
We're fine.
Okay, thank you for the face. All right. Now take the bullet point if there is any.
Something coming up is over. We're going to do CPR.
Okay, one moment. Is doing CPR?
Yes. Okay.
All right, if she wants CPR, and just let me, you give us a call back when he becomes responsible, right, but we're on the way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And so, upon receiving that 911 call just after approximately 6:04 a.m., what, if anything, did you do with regard to dispatch?
So once it was connected to Holbrook, you could hear me. I ended up dispatching my own officers, my downtown cruisers to 34 Fairview, and then I had one other cruiser come back to the station so I could get down there.
And, so you yourself respond down there, is that correct?
Yes.
And about how much time elapsed from the time that you sort of transferred to Holbrook from the medical situation to the time that you travel down to Fairview Road?
I would guess it'd have to be less than 5 minutes.
And in addition to the patrol cars and yourself, who, if anyone else, did you notify in relation to that call when you
So I phoned Lieutenant Gallagher and Detective Sergeant Lang.
Why then?
Just policy, the seriousness of the call. Lieutenant Gallagher was the offgoing lieutenant the night prior, the shift prior, so that's what you usually do. And Detective Sergeant Lang is in charge of the detectives.
Now, when you left Camden Police Station to respond to Fairview, who, if anyone, assumed your role as far as manning the dispatch area in the 911?
That'd be Officer Dever.
And, I may approach?
Yes.
Dever. Sorry.
And for medical reporter, if you haven't already, I'm sorry, could you just spell Officer Dever's last name if you know?
Yes, it's going to be Dever. You're welcome.
I'll show you what's been previously marked as Exhibit 14.
Sorry.
Do you recognize that, sir?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
That would be our roll call log, press log.
And as far as that particular log is concerned, is there any indication on there who sort of created that log?
Yes, that'd be Officer Dever.
And these are logs that you typically create when you're working that particular position as far as the dispatch desk, correct?
Yes, it's pretty much a running journal for our department.
And sort of how is that information gleaned and how is that sort of transmitted into that log?
It's as accurate as the officer that actually enters the information. So if it was busy in there and she's by herself, you're taking information down, you're writing it, then you have to physically enter it into a computer. So there would be a delay in time.
Thank you, sir. May I approach Justice Rodriguez?
Sure.
Yes.
Now, Sergeant Good, with respect to your response at Police Station 234 Fairview Road, what was sort of the path of travel that you took?
So I pulled out of the police station at 1492 Washington Street, taking a right onto Washington, heading south.
And then where did you go from there?
And then I took a right onto Chapman Street. And then it would be your third right.
Was it an incline? A decline in the
And
freeway?
coming down Fairview, what, if anything, did you note as far as sort of the elevation of the roadway as you come from Chapman side down to where 34?
Coming from Chapman, you're heading downhill towards the end of Fairview that meets Cedar Crest.
And so where is 34 in relation to sort of Cedar Crest?
It's the second house on the left before you reach the intersection of Cedar Crest at Fairview.
And as you're approaching or as you're en route between the police department and Fairview Road, what, if anything, did you observe as far as the road conditions, visibility, things like that?
It was terrible. Heavy snow, wind, visibility was awful.
Whatever.
And when you arrive on scene, what is sort of the first thing that you
Just because it was
observe on
awful
your
then doesn't mean it was
As I was coming down the hill, visibility was
12 o'clock
pretty bad.
at night.
Obviously, I noticed the Canton Fire engine. Ambulance was already on scene. Both my two officers, cruisers were also on scene.
Now, as far as the particular cruiser that you were in on that day, is there sort of a particular cruiser that is reserved for sort of the sergeant or lieutenant who's in charge of the?
Yes. So 682 is the primary patrol supervisor vehicle.
And that would sort of shift from shift to shift as far as whoever that particular sergeant is.
Yeah, he would take the same one. 682 is it's labeled on the side of the doors, patrol supervisor.
And so is that the vehicle or that the cruiser that you took to go from the police station to Fairview that morning?
Yes, I did.
And with regard to that cruiser and sort of other cruisers within the Canton Police Department, what, if any, recording system is available on those?
All marked units have it's called a WatchGuard camera system. It has front video camera, and then it also has in the prisoner passenger backseat has a camera there as well. They should be working audio in the backseat, and they're activated by, if you flip the lights on, the blue lights, it'll automatically click. You don't have to press record. The cruiser automatically starts recording. If you got a car accident, the camera would start recording. Any kind of impact, camera starts recording. It actually ends up being passively recording, even when it's not on.
You talked a little bit about the audio as far as the back of the cruiser, but as far as from the camera in the front of the cruiser, where is the audio recording in regard to that, if at all?
It would be on the mic. There's a mic stand that sits in a charger. It looks like almost a beeper. Should be there.
And so that's located within inside the cruiser, correct?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, John?
Yes.
So I'm showing you a flash drive. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that?
That is the flash driver for the Canton Cruiser 682 streaming.
And I'll call 16 to 2 minutes and next exhibit.
Exhibit 41.
All right. Why don't we break now for lunch, Mr. Lally?
Thank you.
Sure, if you close your eyes, leaving them on your chairs, follow me. All right.
All right. So, Mr. Lally, you'll have Lieutenant Ray here in case we can get to him.
Yes, Your Honor. And just with reference, I do have a number of other witnesses who I had anticipated having this afternoon. Am I free to release anybody who's not Lieutenant Ray or Sergeant Lank?
So I think we'll have those two. We'll finish. You can step down, sir. So we'll finish with Sergeant Good, and then you've got Lieutenant Ray.
Yes.
And that'll probably get us till.
I think that'll get us sufficiently through the day. I don't want to release anybody unless the court.
Well,
I really don't think we're going to get to anyone else.
Okay, and then we'll do the voir dire. All right, so you can go ahead and release the civilian witnesses.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, to the court, please.
You are muted.
Alrighty. So I'm gonna call it quits tonight. Usually I could stay up, but I am tired. So I call it quits. But I will finish the rest of this tomorrow, day 5, and possibly day 6. It depends because there is a motion hearing in the morning, and that's really one I want to watch. So this is just to bide time until the real trial starts, you know. The other trial, I shouldn't say. This was a real trial too. It was a real shit show trial. But this next trial, that's what I mean. So I appreciate those that stopped by, chatted, lurked in the clouds, hit the like button, shared the live. And the way I ended is all those that you love and care about, let them know you love and care about them, because you never know when, you know, tomorrow's not promised. And everybody have a blessed night. Bye.
Turn me up, AV.
Put your eyes on me, yeah. Like the spotlight. Recognize me showing love, then got my grind right. Ain't never since day one the love been on side. And since you got my back, I got your back for life. Yeah, pretty honesty. Know just what it is, I got it on me. And you hold me down, you like my homie. Just know I got you down, just what it gon' be. Definition of bestie, definition of friendship, definition of rider, definition relentless. She's a strong woman, she's a sweet lady, she's a great mother. Let your pain get achy. Yeah, I made that girl on YouTube. She never dims my light or put me in her dark mood. And I thank you, you appreciate it. You're my favorite girl on YouTube, and I can't fake it. You still got faith in me, make me feel like big. DJ Khaled voice, pretty hot. You still got faith in me, make me feel like big. DJ Khaled voice, pretty hot. Yeah. Met a little shawty on this show called BDP, you know what I'm talking about? Shit. We been cool ever since, my nigga, you know what I'm talking about? Put your eyes on me, yeah. Like the spotlight. Recognize me showing love, then got my grind right. Ain't never since day one the love been on side. And since you got my back, I got your back for life. Yeah, pretty honesty. Know just what it is, I got it on me. And you hold me down, you like my homie. Just know I got you down, just what it gon' be.